Chapter 51:37. The reason why he could not sense the nine heavens god cauldron, the aura was not because of the nine heavens god cauldron. It had been killed. Was it because of the nine heavens god cauldron? It fell into a deep slumber. Devour. Lin Feng waved his hand, and a powerful devouring power enveloped the nine heavens god cauldron. Next, long rivers of energy were sucked out of the nine heavens god cauldron by Lin Feng. Then, the long rivers of energy were absorbed into Lin Feng's time and space. The long rivers of energy were very special. They were not pure energy, but they were integrated with a very special power. Therefore, it could allow a cultivator to achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation. After Lin Feng made his move, the others followed suit. They also tried to obtain the special energy from the nine heavens god cauldron. Even the female ghost immortal rushed over quickly to devour the energy. Lin Feng woke up Bibi, Blackie, Emperor, Archaic, Demon King Bug, and the others to devour the energy. At this moment, it was a race against time. It was time to frantically plunder. Who would get the most, based on their own abilities? Seeing Lin Feng summon so many creatures to devour the energy, Grandmother Witch Ancestor, Child Ghost Mountain, and Su Wanqing's faces turned green. Their speed of devouring the energy was far slower than Lin Feng's. Now that Lin Feng had summoned so many strange creatures to devour the energy, the amount of energy they could obtain was even less. However, Grandmother Witch Ancestor and the others did not dare to provoke Lin Feng. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At this moment, a loud noise shook the sky. In the void, an incomparably huge vortex appeared. The aura of the nine heavens god cauldron. A cry of surprise came from the vortex. Then, a terrifying aura that made the gods tremble surged out of the vortex. After feeling the aura, everyone's face changed slightly. Go, go, go. The people of that world have sensed the aura of the nine heavens god cauldron. The demon lord's voice echoed in Lin Feng's mind. Lin Feng was shocked. He hurriedly sent Bibi and the others into the time-space. Following this, Lin Feng looked at the female ghost celestial and Wan Lingyue and said in a low voice, "Hurry up and leave. We can't stay here for long." The female ghost, immortal Yuan Lingyue, nodded. Lin Feng teleported to the top of the altar and took down the skeleton of the female ghost immortal. Then, he quickly left with the female ghost immortal and Wan Lingyue. Grandma Wu and the others didn't dare to stay any longer and quickly left. Whoosh! A beam of light shot out of the twisting vortex and wrapped around the nine heavens god cauldron. Then, Jiuqian Sheiji disappeared without a trace, and the huge energy whirlpool also disappeared. After Lin Feng and the other two arrived outside, they heaved a sigh of relief. After they came out, Grandma Wu, Elder Guishan, and Su Wanqing rushed out as well. The three of them didn't stop and quickly flew into the distance. By the time Lin Feng came back to his senses, the three of them were already very far away. It wouldn't be easy to catch up to them, so Lin Feng didn't chase after them. The nine heavens god cauldron should have been taken, the demon lord said. Hearing this, Lin Feng was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Following this, Lin Feng became happy. He had gained a lot this time because he had devoured a lot of energy rivers. He would refine them later and see if they could increase his cultivation. Lin Feng looked at Wan Lingyue and asked, "What do you plan to do next, Fairy?" Wan Lingyue said, "I still have some things to take care of, so I won't stay here any longer." Lin Feng said, "All right, then we'll part ways here. Be careful when you're alone." "All right, you two, young master," Wan Lingyue said. Then Wan Lingyue left. The female ghost immortal followed Lin Feng to Lin Feng's residence, and went into seclusion to cultivate. After arriving at Lin Feng's residence, the female ghost immortal felt very emotional. The female ghost immortal wanted to devour Lin Feng's primordial yang energy. Now that she was here, she had regained her freedom and seemed to have become friends with Lin Feng. Life. Sometimes it was really strange. Lin Feng returned to his room and went into seclusion. The female ghost immortal could go into seclusion anywhere she wanted. After all, there were so many rooms. Lin Feng began to refine and absorb the special energy. Lin Feng's cultivation had stopped at the 6th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage for some time now. He didn't know what level his cultivation would stop at after refining the special energy. In fact, Lin Feng knew that it would be difficult for him to make breakthroughs. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't dare to think about breaking through many levels at once. If he could break through 1 or 2 levels, Lin Feng would be satisfied. However, whether he could break through 1 or 2 levels was hard to say. Lin Feng would have to wait until he finished refining all the energy. As the special energy was refined by Lin Feng could clearly feel that his level was constantly improving. This made Lin Feng very happy. After about 3 days, Lin Feng finally broke through from the 6th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage to the 7th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage. However, this was just the beginning because Lin Feng still had a lot of powerful energy in his body. Time continued to pass. Lin Feng continued to refine the special energy. In the next month, Lin Feng's cultivation had been steadily improving. He broke through from the 7th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage to the 8th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage. Then, he broke through from the 8th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage to the 9th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage. Then, he broke through from the 9th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage to the 10th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage. It wasn't until he broke through to the 10th heavenly layer of the human immortal stage that the special energy in Lin Feng's body completely dispersed. This made Lin Feng very surprised. Originally, Lin Feng would be extremely satisfied if he could break through 1 or 2 levels. However, this breakthrough, it brought him a lot of surprises. He actually broke through 4 levels at once. This was really something to be surprised about. The next step was to try to break through to the Earth immortal stage. However, it was more difficult to break through to the Earth immortal stage. Lin Feng was also very clear about this. For Lin Feng, breaking through to the Earth immortal stage often required the help of some heavenly treasures or some great opportunities. Of course, now that he had just broken through 4 levels, Lin Feng was not in a hurry to break through to the Earth immortal stage. He needed to consolidate his cultivation during this period of time. Chapter 51:38. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, the female ghost immortal had also come out. As for Bibi and the others, they were still in seclusion. He hoped that they could also use the special energy from the 9 heavens and Earth cauldron to make a breakthrough. Where do you want to bury the bones of your previous life? Lin Feng looked at the female ghost immortal and said, "Let's bury it in the wilderness outside." The female ghost immortal said. Lin Feng nodded and left with the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng found a place with good feng shui for the female ghost immortal. Then, he buried the bones of her previous life. Lin Feng followed the female ghost immortal's request and set up a stone tablet for her previous life's bones. However, he only set up a simple stone tablet. On the stone tablet, there was nothing written. This was also the request of the female ghost immortal. Lin Feng walked into the distance. The female ghost immortal sat in front of the grave and started crying. Perhaps she was crying for the fate of her previous life. After the female ghost immortal finished crying, she came to Lin Feng's side. Then he said, "I'm leaving." "Where are you going?" "Heaven realm or the underworld?" Lin Feng asked. "To the heaven realm. But now that the world has changed, the passageway that connected to the heaven realm has disappeared. I don't know how to go to the heaven realm now, so I plan to go to the underworld first, and then find the passageway to the heaven realm in the underworld," the female ghost immortal said. Lin Feng said, "This is indeed a good method, but before you go to the heaven realm, you have to be fully prepared. As the supreme world, the heaven realm is the best place to restrain the creatures of the underworld. That place is very harmful to your body, so even if you go there, you can't stay in the heaven realm for too long." "I know. Thank you for your reminder. I will not forget your great kindness," the female ghost immortal said. Then she left. Lin Feng stood alone in the forest. "Go back and see if Pei Ingjuan's 9-heaven thunder source pearl has been researched." Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. He didn't stay any longer and quickly flew towards the ancient city. Lin Feng came back and saw Wu Kuan. Wu Kuan didn't know what happened before. He was puzzled as to why Lao Wu Tu and the others suddenly disappeared. Now that he saw Lin Feng, Wu Kuan was very happy. He ran to Lin Feng and asked him. Lin Feng told him that he didn't know either. Wu Kuan nodded and left. Perhaps the best choice was not to let him know some things. Wu Kuan was just a very ordinary person. In that case, let him continue to live an ordinary life. Lin Feng still didn't know who the fifth person was. He didn't see that person from the beginning to the end. Of course, Lin Feng didn't care who that person was. Lin Feng came to Pei Ingjuan's place. He admired Pei Ingjuan. With Pei Ingjuan's strength, he should have sensed what happened in the underground world. However, Pei Ingjuan didn't check it out because he put all his energy into researching the 9-heaven thunder source pearl. He was obsessed with it to the point of madness. "Wanna succeed? Go crazy first." That was Pei Ingjuan's life motto. When Lin Feng came to Pei Ingjuan's place, Pei Ingjuan's cheers came from the room. "I did it! I did it! Ha 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 ha! I finally researched it." Pei Ingjuan couldn't help but laugh. He was so excited that he went crazy. Pei Ingjuan sensed Lin Feng outside. He opened the door and rushed out. He grabbed Lin Feng's shoulder and shouted excitedly, "Brother, I did it! Did you know? I finally did it! The 9-heaven thunder source pearl was successfully researched. Your 200 million immortal stones weren't spent in vain." Lin Feng was naturally very happy. The 9-heaven thunder source pearl was very powerful. If they could mass produce it, it would be very important for Lin Feng. "Congratulations. You are destined to leave your mark in the history of alchemy," Lin Feng said with a smile. Lin Feng said with a smile, "Ha ha ha, of course, who am I? A handsome and confident man destined to leave a mark in history." Pei Ingjuan said proudly. This guy's skin was really thick. Lin Feng had to concede defeat. Lin Feng asked, "How did you make such a breakthrough?" Pei Ingjuan laughed and said, "After I had the money, I changed a few materials and succeeded." Lin Feng said, "So if you want to succeed, you need to use some good materials." Fortunately, everything went smoothly. Pei Ingjuan said, "Expensive materials have their benefits. I'm going to collect thunder source pearls now. Are you interested in coming with me?" Lin Feng happened to have nothing to do. Following Pei Ingjuan to collect thunder source pearls was quite a good thing. Moreover, with one more person, they would be able to collect more thunder source pearls and refine more 9-heaven thunder source pearls. Lin Feng said, "Of course, I'm interested. Let's go now." Pei Ingjuan nodded and set off with Lin Feng to collect thunder source pearls. Thunder source pearls were usually things that appeared in lightning seas. However, the power of the thunder source pearls that appeared in different lightning seas were different. The stronger the thunder source pearls were, the more powerful the 9-heaven thunder source pearls would be. Generally speaking, the thunder source pearls in the lightning seas formed by rain were the weakest. The stronger thunder source pearls were the thunder source pearls that appeared in the lightning tribulations of some fierce beasts. Above that was the thunder source pearls that appeared in the lightning seas when cultivators were undergoing their tribulations. The stronger the cultivator, the stronger the lightning tribulations. Then, the stronger the thunder source pearls in the lightning seas would be. Therefore, the thunder source Lin Feng was looking for was the thunder source pearls that appeared when cultivators were undergoing their tribulations. He and Pei Yingjun flew quickly in the air. It was not rare for cultivators to undergo their tribulations, and it was common to see cultivators undergoing their tribulations in the mountains. However, it was rare to see a tribulation that could satisfy them. This required them to be patient and search for it. And after finding that kind of tribulation, they also needed to be careful, because once they entered someone else's lightning tribulation, they would very likely be attacked by someone else's lightning tribulation. If he was attacked by someone else's thunder tribulation, there was a certain probability that his own thunder tribulation would also be attracted. If the thunder tribulation was attracted before it was time to cross the tribulation, this was an extremely terrifying and terrible thing. The slightest carelessness could lead to a tragic end. After flying for 10 days in the forest, Lin Feng finally saw an incomparably huge sea of lightning in the distance. Within the sea of lightning, thunder dragons and lightning snakes swam in the air. There were top experts undergoing their tribulations. Chapter 51:39. There were many cultivators at the edge of the tribulation. These cultivators were just there to watch the show, but Lin Feng noticed that they were all from the same faction. Perhaps they were from the same faction as the cultivator undergoing the tribulation, and had followed him to undergo the tribulation. That way, they would be able to immediately know if the cultivator from their faction had succeeded. Be careful. The tribulation is very dangerous. You must suppress your cultivation with all your might and don't let the tribulation attract your own tribulation, Pei Yingjun reminded him. It was rare for him to be so serious. Lin Feng nodded and said, "You be careful too." Pei Yingjun said, "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine." When they flew closer, they saw a middle-aged cultivator undergoing the tribulation. The cultivator was very powerful, and he was probably breaking through from the virtual immortal realm to the Tao immortal realm. Lin Feng and Pei Yingjun's arrival attracted a lot of attention. When they saw Lin Feng and Pei Yingjun flying towards the lightning ocean, they couldn't help but point at them. In their opinion, they were simply courting death. Even the cultivator undergoing the tribulation couldn't help but glance at Lin Feng and Pei Yingjun, not knowing what the two were up to. Lin Feng and Pei Yingjun entered the lightning ocean. Endless lightning surged within the ocean, emitting a terrifying power that made one's heart palpitate. Facing the surging lightning, anyone would feel their heart palpitate. When Lin Feng and Pei Yingjun arrived, a large amount of lightning energy rushed towards them. They had to dodge the lightning energy in a wretched manner. Because there was too much lightning energy, it was unrealistic to completely dodge it. When the lightning energy struck his body, Lin Feng noticed that the tribulation light between his eyebrows was constantly growing stronger. When the tribulation light accumulated to a certain degree, when that time came, the tribulation would completely erupt. "I can't let the lightning strike me," Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. He released his domineering magnetic field. For domineering magnetic fields overlapped, enveloping Lin Feng and Pei Yingjun. When the lightning struck, it was blocked by Lin Feng's domineering magnetic field. Damn, what kind of technique is this? How can it be so powerful? Pei Ingjun immediately exclaimed. Lin Feng said, a magnetic field formed by the condensed domineering force. Pei Ingjun said in shock, You're still the best. Not even 1 in a billion people can condense a domineering force, but you condensed a domineering magnetic field. This technique is really terrifying. It's just luck. Lin Feng smiled. Then he and Pei Ingjun continued forward. They rushed towards the center of the Sea of Lightning. When they reached the periphery of the center, Lin Feng noticed that the lightning in the center had passed through Lin Feng's domineering magnetic field and was rushing towards him and Pei Ingjun. The lightning in the center had become even more powerful, for domineering magnetic fields couldn't withstand it. Lin Feng didn't use 12 domineering magnetic fields because it required the pure ones transforming into 3 pure ones. The duration of the pure ones transforming into 3 pure ones wasn't very long. If he used it, he could use it during the crucial moment of collecting the lightning essence. However, 4 domineering magnetic fields wasn't the limit of Lin Feng's domineering force. The limit was 5 domineering magnetic fields. Lin Feng cultivated 5 domineering forces: Sovereign Domineering Force, White Tiger Domineering Force, Azure Dragon Domineering Force, Epic Domineering Force, and Highest World Destroying Domineering Force. Lin Feng had used 5 domineering magnetic fields in a battle before, but Lin Feng discovered that he couldn't control them perfectly. This was mainly because his cultivation wasn't high enough. Controlling 5 domineering magnetic fields by himself was difficult, so Lin Feng used 4 domineering magnetic fields. But now, Lin Feng's cultivation was much higher than before. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that he should be able to control 5 domineering magnetic fields now. So, Lin Feng began to operate the 5 domineering magnetic fields. Sure enough, as Lin Feng imagined, when Lin Feng operated the 5 domineering magnetic fields, the strenuous feeling disappeared. However, Lin Feng wasn't very familiar with the 5 domineering magnetic fields. So, when Lin Feng operated the 5 domineering magnetic fields, he still felt unfamiliar. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. As time passed, and as the number of times he used it increased, it would be easier for him to operate the 5 domineering magnetic fields. After completely mastering the 5 domineering magnetic fields, Lin Feng could operate the 1 qi into 3 pure ones. At most, he could display 15 domineering magnetic fields. However, Lin Feng knew that such a method required time to complete the transformation. It wasn't something that could be done overnight. Damn it! How many domineering magnetic fields have you cultivated? Pei Ingjun looked at Lin Feng enviously. With his cultivation, he could naturally sense Lin Feng's situation. Lin Feng stacked a new domineering magnetic field. This shocked Pei Ingjun. Lin Feng seemed to have cultivated too many domineering magnetic fields. Other people who cultivated even 1 domineering magnetic field were blessed by their ancestors. Lin Feng actually cultivated so many domineering magnetic fields. What a waste of money. Comparisons were odious. Lin Feng said, not many, just 5. Hearing Lin Feng's humble words, Pei Ingjun felt his teeth ache. He had the urge to slap Lin Feng to death. Under the protection of the 5 domineering magnetic fields, Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun quickly rushed towards the Thunder Mother. Do you see that? That's the Thunder Mother. Pei Ingjun only thought of the core area, where there was a distorted purple ball of lightning. That twisted purple lightning ball should be the Lightning Mother. Lin Feng said, the Thunder Mother's aura seems to be very violent. How can we take it away? Pei Ingjun said, you'll need a special treasure to take it away. As soon as he finished speaking, Pei Ingjun took out something that looked like a chamber pot. Isn't that a chamber pot? Lin Feng rolled his eyes. Pei Ingjun said, This is the thunder extraction pot that I refined. Lin Feng was speechless. Pei Ingjun really had a wicked sense of humor, because this guy actually forged such an extraordinary treasure into the shape of a chamber pot. Those who didn't know would definitely think that it was a chamber pot. Lin Feng held the thunder extraction pot in his hand and asked, "How do I use this?" Pei Ingjun said, "Once activated, it can automatically absorb the Thunder Mother." Chapter 5140. Of course, he couldn't absorb the Thunder Mother yet because he was still quite a distance away from the location of the Thunder Mother. They had to reach the edge of the Lightning Mother before they could try to absorb it. But it wasn't easy. The lightning in the last part of the journey was even more violent. Lin Feng's 5-layered magnetic field couldn't withstand it any longer. But Lin Feng still had 12 layers of domineering magnetic fields. Lin Feng used his 1 qi into 3 pure ones, and the 2 clones went back into his body. But that didn't stop Lin Feng from using his 12-fold domineering magnetic field. After Lin Feng used the 12-fold domineering magnetic field, it enveloped him and Pei Ingjun. Pei Ingjun was completely numb after feeling the power of the 12-fold domineering magnetic field. Now, no matter what Lin Feng did, he wouldn't be shocked anymore. Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun arrived at the edge of the Lightning Mother under the protection of the 12-fold domineering magnetic field. Pei Ingjun took out a lightning extraction pot and activated it to absorb the Lightning Mother. Lin Feng activated the lightning extraction pot in his hand. When Lin Feng's spiritual energy entered the lightning extraction pot, the lightning extraction pot released a powerful devouring force. An endless stream of Lightning Mother was quickly absorbed by the lightning extraction pot. Lin Feng smiled. These Lightning Mothers were 9 heavenly lightning pearls. Lin Feng had the impression that he could take out hundreds of thunder pearls at the same time. At that time, he would kill gods and Buddhas. That's how willful we are. Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun used the lightning extraction pot to absorb all the Lightning Mother. The 2 of them quickly left. "Damn, look, those 2 guys are coming out." Someone pointed at Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun. Many people initially thought that Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun were going to die in the ocean of thunder, but Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun were completely fine. They were astonished. Who the hell are those 2 guys? What are they doing in the lightning ocean? Some people couldn't help but mutter. They were very confused about why Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun went into the lightning ocean. No matter what their goal is, their cultivation must be terrifying. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to come out alive. Another cultivator said. The others nodded. He also agreed with this point of view. After Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun left, they continued searching for Lightning Mother. Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun, they went to many places. After searching for enough Thunder Mothers, Yi Zichen decided to leave. Lin Feng and Pei Ingjun went back to the ancient city. Pei Ingjun didn't stop there. He immediately went to make the 9 Thunder Source Pearl. Lin Feng. Half a month later, Pei Ingjun came out. "How many pearls did you make?" asked Lin Feng to Pei Ingjun. That's great." Lin Feng clenched his fists. 1,209 Heaven Thunder Source Pearls. With so many 9 heavenly Thunder Source Pearls being used together, just how terrifying would their power be? Even with Lin Feng's experience, he couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. Pei Ingjun gave Lin Feng 1,200 Thunder Pearls and said, "These 9 Thunder Pearls are very similar to talismans. Now, you can use these 9 Thunder Pearls to refine them. If you want to use the 9 heavenly lightning source pearls against your enemies, you just have to pour your Fa-Li into the pearls and release them." "Okay." Lin Feng nodded. He put the pearls away and said, "I'll buy them for 1 million each." 1,200 of them will be won. 2 billion immortal stones. Lin Feng waved his hand. 12 rivers of immortal stones flew out, and Lin Feng sealed them in an energy ball. Pei Ingjun rubbed his hands and said, "Then I'll accept them." "Of course." Lin Feng nodded. Pei Ingjun was very happy and excited after accepting the one. 2 billion immortal stones. His hard work all these years hadn't been in vain. Lin Feng said, "Why don't you follow me from now on?" "Follow you?" Pei Ingjun looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. "I can give you all kinds of resources and celestial stones. You can study all kinds of things. When you're done, I'll buy them from you at a high price," said Lin Feng, nodding. "I'm used to being free," Pei Ingjun said. Said Lin Feng, "I won't restrict your freedom. On the contrary, I'll protect you. You created the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl, and even though only the 2 of us know about it, there are many strange people in the world. They might be able to calculate it. When the time comes, many influential groups will try to steal it from you. It'll be a disaster for you, but if you work for me, you'll be safe." "Hee, now that you mention it, I think so too." "All right, I'll agree." Pei Ingjun grinned. Lin Feng smiled after hearing Pei Ingjun's answer. Pei Ingjun was a genius. In this society, people like him were hard to come by. A top alchemist was extremely important to a great power. For example, Pei Ingjun could create something as terrifying as the 9 heavenly thunder source pearl. He could also create other terrifying things, which could transform a great power. Therefore, to be able to recruit Pei Ingjun was a great thing for Lin Feng. Lin Feng told Pei Ingjun his identity. Pei Ingjun was startled and said, "I've guessed your true identity before. I also guessed that you were that person from the Sin realm. But I wasn't sure. Now I've finally confirmed that you're that person. No wonder you have so many terrifying methods." Lin Feng smiled and said, "There are too few top experts in the younger generation. If there were more, it wouldn't be easy to guess my identity." Pei Ingjun said, "There will be more." Lin Feng nodded and wrote a letter of recommendation for Pei Ingjun. Lin Feng told Pei Ingjun to give it to his ancestor, Wang Mingchuan. If Wang Mingchuan saw this letter, he would make arrangements for Pei Ingjun. Chapter 5141. Pei Ingjun went to the Sin realm while Lin Feng went to Sky Water City. Sky Water City was one of the 10 ancient cities in the Sky Water realm. It had a long history and was controlled by the Tian clan a long time ago. The Tian clan was quite mysterious. No one knew where their ancestral ground was. The only way to contact the Tian clan was through the Tian clan in the Sky Water realm. Rumor had it that the Tian clan in Sky Water City was an outer circle of the Tian clan. However, Lin Feng didn't know if this was true or not. Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the head of the 3-headed viper and closed his eyes to rest. The 3-headed viper flapped its wings and flew towards Sky Water City. Half a month later, Lin Feng saw Sky Water City lying on the horizon. It was huge like a primordial beast resting on the ground. It exuded an oppressive aura as heavy as a mountain. Cultivators from all directions were heading towards the city. Some flew by themselves, while others rode mounts like Lin Feng. Others took flying ships. These cultivators stopped outside Tianshui City. When they arrived at Tianshui City, they could only choose to walk. They could no longer take airships or mounts. Of course, rules were dead while people were alive. The rules of Tianshui City were only for ordinary cultivators. For those powerful cultivators or the children of aristocratic families, these rules were like empty words. They could not restrain those people at all. However, if ordinary cultivators dared to violate these rules at will, Naturally, they would not have a good ending. There was already a long queue outside the city. Entering the city required an entrance fee of 10 pieces. Countless cultivators entered the city every day, so the entrance fee collected by the city was extremely shocking. After entering the city, Lin Feng saw a cultivator in front of him. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Qin Mubai. It turned out to be this person. Lin Feng had met Qin Mubai a few times in the past. This was an old friend of the Sky Martial Continent. Lin Feng still remembered the time when they went to the Eternal Demon Mountain and encountered the blood moon rising in the sky. Their group was drawn into the land of death. At that time, Lin Feng met up with Zi Xiao and the others. It was Zi Xiao who saved Lin Feng. Lin Feng would never forget this kindness. Zi Xiao had a treasure. It was a golden Buddha that could scare away some of the dangers in the land of death. However, not long after Zi Xiao took out the golden Buddha, Zi Xiao was killed and his golden Buddha was taken away. Before Zi Xiao died, he asked Lin Feng to promise to take care of his sister, Ziling. Naturally, Lin Feng wouldn't refuse Zi Xiao's last request. Later, Lin Feng found Ziling. However, after Ziling awakened the mysterious Yin Witch bloodline, she was taken away by the Geomaster faction. Later, Lin Feng chased her all the way to the 9 continents. He even found the backer of the Geomaster faction, the Huangdao clan. It was all to find Ziling. However, Ziling was taken away by 2 mysterious men wearing bamboo hats. Since then, Lin Feng had completely lost track of Ziling. Lin Feng had always felt guilty about this matter. He hoped to find Ziling. However, after so many years, there were no clues about Ziling. In addition, Lin Feng also wanted to find Zi Xiao's murderer. At that time, there were many cultivators involved in the land of death. However, there were not many people who could kill Zi Xiao silently. In the beginning, Lin Feng had suspected Saber Lord. However, it was later proven that it wasn't Saber Lord. Therefore, there were only a few people left that Lin Feng suspected. One was Qin Mubai, one was Genie Chen, and the other was Ji Mingtian. Fairy Mengxian also seemed to be a suspect. However, she was the least suspicious. This was because Fairy Mengxian had an unconcealable fragrance on her body. It could be smelled from far away. However, when Zi Xiao was in trouble, Lin Feng didn't smell Fairy Mengxian's fragrance. As a result, the 3 people most likely to kill Zi Xiao and steal his treasure were Qin Mubai, Genie Chen, and Ji Mingtian. Ji Mingtian was Ji Yuhan's brother. Lin Feng knew a little about Ji Mingtian's character from Ji Yuhan. For example, when he was 16 years old, Ji Mingtian went out to train. He once found a corpse in a nameless cave. After discovering the identity of the corpse, Ji Mingtian took the corpse's storage ring and then crossed several regions to return the storage ring to the deceased's family. It could be seen that Ji Mingtian's character was extremely good. As for Ji Mingtian, he was a prince of the great Zhou Empire. What kind of treasure did he not have? Therefore, the possibility of Ji Mingtian killing Zi Xiao and stealing his treasure was relatively small. Then only Jin Yichen and Qin Mubai were left. Later, due to the upheaval in the Tianwu continent, Qin Mubai and Jin Yichen also disappeared without a trace. Therefore, Lin Feng's investigation was stopped. Until now, Lin Feng hadn't found Zi Xiao's murderer. But now, Lin Feng saw Qin Mubai. This made Lin Feng very surprised and also made Lin Feng very happy. Perhaps he could find out some things from Qin Mubai. If the murderer wasn't Qin Mubai, then it was very likely to be Genie Chen. Lin Feng quickly walked over. He caught up with Qin Mubai and then shouted, "Brother Qin, Qin Mubai heard someone calling him and stopped. He turned his head to look at Lin Feng. Immediately, he revealed a puzzled expression. When Lin Feng and Qin Mubai met that year, he was only 16 or 17 years old. His appearance had changed quite a bit compared to now. Furthermore, the two of them hadn't seen each other for over 100 years. When Qin Mubai saw Lin Feng again, he indeed didn't recognize who Lin Feng was. "You are." Qin Mubai looked at Lin Feng suspiciously. "It seems that Brother Qin has forgotten about me. I am Lin Feng of the Tianwu continent." Lin Feng said, "It's actually you." Qin Mubai was extremely shocked. The Tianwu continent belonged to the 9 continents' great world. Now, everyone knew that the master of Sin domain was Lin Feng, who had ascended from the 9 continents' great world. Furthermore, this Lin Feng was the son of Lin Beitian. It was just that Qin Mubai didn't know if this Lin Feng in front of him was the Lin Feng of Sin domain. The reason why he couldn't be sure was because there were many people called Lin Feng, especially after the rise of the Sinner's Blood Emperor. Many people even changed their names to Lin Feng. And that Lin Feng of the Tianwu continent was indeed a genius. However, Qin Mubai remembered that the Lin Feng of the Tianwu continent came from a small family. Could such a small family have produced a peerless expert like Lin Beitian? Qin Mubai didn't think that such a small clan could have such a strong cultivator like Lin Beitian. If such a strong cultivator had appeared in such a small clan, how could Lin Feng's clan be so weak? Chapter 5142. Qin Mubai's lack of understanding of Lin Feng was understandable. After all, Qin Mubai had left as soon as the Martial Heaven continent fell into chaos. There were many things about Lin Feng that he didn't know, and he didn't know much about Lin Feng either. As for Lin Feng's family, he knew even less. After all, Qin Mubai had come from a major power, so he naturally didn't know much about Lin Feng's family. Lin Feng's father had left the Martial Heaven continent to train in his teens. Lin Feng's father's reputation was mainly in the Undying World, not the Martial Heaven continent. In the Undying World, everyone knew who Lin Beitian was, but in the Martial Heaven continent, everyone was confused. Who was this Lin Beitian? Qin Mubai didn't think that this Lin Feng was the Sinner Blood Emperor. Lin Feng. However, Qin Mubai still wanted to ask. He wanted to confirm it. "Brother Lin, are you the Sinner Blood Emperor in the Sin realm?" asked Qin Mubai. Lin Feng also realized that Qin Mubai didn't know his true identity. In that case, there was no need for him to confess everything to Qin Mubai. However, Lin Feng didn't directly deny it. Sometimes, doing so would have the opposite effect. Lin Feng said, "Yes, I'm the Sinner Blood Emperor, Lin Feng." "What? You're the Sinner Blood Emperor, Lin Feng?" Before Qin Mubai could say anything, the cultivators passing by couldn't help exclaiming, "Fuck, would the Sinner Blood Emperor tell others on the street that he's the Sinner Blood Emperor?" Another cultivator looked at Lin Feng with disdain. Someone else said, "If you want to brag, why would the Sinner Blood Emperor come to the Skywater realm when the Sinner Blood Emperor is so far away? Even if the Sinner's Blood Emperor came to the Tianshui region, a major figure like him would definitely have many experts following him. Where are your experts?" Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, "It's none of your business. If there's nothing else, go away. You must be furious after being exposed, right? I've seen plenty of people like you. Brother, let me tell you, don't be tricked by this guy. There are a lot of swindlers these days. I met a swindler a while ago, and that swindler told me that he was the nephew of the Heavenly Emperor. His storage ring was stolen by someone, and he didn't have the money to take the cross-domain space-time passage to the Heavenly Court. Thus, he lent me 1,000 immortal stones and thanked me heavily when I returned. I didn't fall for that guy's trick. In my opinion, this guy is the same as the person I met before. Cough, cough. I was just joking. Is there a need to be so serious? Lin Feng said. Everyone, let's disperse. We've known each other for many years. That was just a joke. Qin Mubai said. F***CK, what a waste of our time. The group of people couldn't help but be speechless. Then they quickly dispersed. Qin Mubai looked at Lin Feng and asked, Brother Lin, when did you come to the undying world? Lin Feng said, It's been a few years. How about you, Brother Qin? When did you come to the undying world? Qin Mubai said, I've been here for more than 130 years. Brother Qin, where are you working now? Lin Feng asked. Qin Mubai smiled bitterly. Not really, but there are some things that aren't convenient to talk about here. How about we find a quiet place to talk? All right, it's my treat. Lin Feng said. Qin Mubai said, This is my territory. There's no need for Brother Lin to treat me. I'll be the host today. Qin Mubai brought Lin Feng to a restaurant called Idle Gathering House. The owner of Idle Gathering House was a young woman who looked to be in her 30s. Her looks were ordinary, but her figure was not bad. She personally brought Qin Mubai and Lin Feng to a private room. Lin Feng entered the room first and found a place to sit. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly because he sensed that Qin Mubai and the young woman were getting intimate outside. Lin Feng couldn't help but whisper to himself. Qin Mubai was handsome and talented. He could have any woman he wanted. Surprisingly, he was with that young woman. That young woman was too mediocre and mediocre. Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised. They only had a simple moment of intimacy before the young woman left. Qin Mubai entered the private room, and before long, someone brought food and wine. Lin Feng and Qin Mubai drank one cup after another. As they chatted, Lin Feng learned that after Qin Mubai and his family left the Tianwu continent, they had experienced countless dangers on their way to the undying world. After arriving at the undying world, most of the family members had died. After arriving at the undying world, they were unlucky and encountered a great battle between experts. They were affected, and the last few dozen of their family members died miserably. Only Qin Mubai was lucky enough to survive. Later on, Qin Mubai managed to pass the recruitment test of the Shui clan of the Tianshui region by chance and became an ordinary guard of the Shui clan of the Tianshui region. When Qin Mubai was in the Tianwu continent, he was a peerless genius on par with the little Peng King. Thus, his talent was very powerful. Thus, after his life settled down and he was able to obtain a certain amount of cultivation resources every month, Qin Mubai's cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. Thus, Qin Mubai quickly stood out. The Shui family felt that Qin Mubai was a talent, so they decided to properly nurture him. After all, Qin Mubai and the Shui family did not have any relationship. The Shui family was worried that Qin Mubai would grow up and leave the Shui family. Thus, they decided to recruit Qin Mubai as their son-in-law. However, many young ladies of the Shui family looked down on Qin Mubai, who was born as a rogue cultivator. Even if Qin Mubai's talent was not bad, those young ladies of the big families still looked down on Qin Mubai. However, at this time, a young lady of the Shui family actually gave birth to a child before marriage. This young lady's reputation was not very good. It was said that she had an affair with many men, and it was unknown who she was pregnant with. This kind of thing was too shameful. The Shui family wanted to find someone to win over this young lady, and then tell the world that this man was actually in love with the young lady of the Shui family. Furthermore, they were already engaged. Now, they were going to get married. This way, they could still save some face. Coincidentally, the Shui family wanted to recruit Qin Mubai as their son-in-law. Thus, They wanted to marry this young lady to Qin Mubai. No matter how down and out Qin Mubai was, he was still a talented and handsome young man. How could he not agree to this kind of marriage? Qin Mubai wanted to reject, but the moment he revealed his intentions, he could feel the killing intent from the Shui clan members. Qin Mubai knew that if he dared to refuse, the Shui family would definitely kill him. Qin Mubai did not want to die, so Qin Mubai swallowed his anger and agreed to this matter. This matter was not a secret in Sky Water City, so Qin Mubai told Lin Feng about it. He had already become the laughingstock of countless people in Sky Water City. After Lin Feng heard about Qin Mubai's experience, he couldn't help but sigh. Qin Mubai's life was also very sad. He was not even married, but he was already a father. If this kind of thing happened to anyone, they would not be able to endure it. However, Qin Mubai endured it. It was clear that Qin Mubai was not a simple person. Chapter 51:43. After knowing what had happened to Qin Mubai, Lin Feng could roughly guess what Qin Mubai's life would be like in the future. Qin Mubai, who had become a father, would naturally not feel happy about this matter. In addition, his nominal wife was a fickle woman, so Qin Mubai had been very happy all these years. Moreover, he was a son-in-law who married into a family. In the world of cultivators, the status of a son-in-law who married into a family was not particularly high. In fact, it was not just the world of cultivators. Even in the secular world, or in any other world, the status of a son-in-law who married into a family was not particularly high. If there was a way, who would choose to marry into a family? So, Qin Mubai had also suffered a lot in the Shui family these past few years. Qin Mubai naturally needed to find a safe harbor. In this kind of harbor, Qin Mubai could feel the warmth that he had not felt for a long time. Thus, the appearance of this woman in Jushin restaurant gave Qin Mubai a bit of comfort. From this woman, Qin Mubai felt the dignity of a man. Although this woman was not beautiful, Qin Mubai did not care about that. Thus, Qin Mubai and this woman definitely had true love. Brother, let me tell you, no matter how bad your life is in the future, don't be like me and marry into someone else's family. It's really not a life for humans to live, to be looked down upon, to be ridiculed, to have no dignity, to live like a dog. But what can I do? I can't resist, because if I resist, I will die. I still miss the time when I was in the Sky Martial Continent. At that time, I had a beautiful face and a happy life. Qin Mubai was already drunk. He was reminiscing about the past. Back then, Qin Mubai was the top genius of the Sky Martial Continent. What a carefree life that was. But that was already a thing of the past. There was no way to go back. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. Life was really a bitch. It actually tortured the proud son of heaven to such a state. But perhaps this was life. Everyone's life trajectory was different. Everything will be fine. Lin Feng said, "Yes, everything will be fine. I hope so." Qin Mubai said. He picked up his wine cup and continued to drink. Qin Mubai was very drunk. Lin Feng felt that now was the best time to ask Qin Mubai about what happened back then. Lin Feng asked, "Brother Qin, do you still remember what happened in the primordial demon mountains?" "Of course I remember." The blood moon rose into the sky, and everyone was sucked into the land of death. Qin Mubai said drunkenly, "It was really dangerous back then. Luckily, I managed to escape. But now that I think about it, it would have been better if I had died in there. At least I would have died with dignity, unlike now, where I'm living like a coward." "Do you still remember Zi Xiao?" Lin Feng asked. "Zi Xiao? Who was he?" "I can't remember." Qin Mubai shook his head. "He used to have a golden Buddha." Lin Feng continued. Qin Mubai said, "I really don't remember who this Zi Xiao is. If you're talking about the golden Buddha, I do remember seeing a golden Buddha. at Genie Chen's place. Speaking of which, Qin Mubai lay on the table and fell into a deep sleep. Genie Chen, Lin Feng's eyes flashed with killing intent. He finally knew who had caused Zizhao's death. It was actually Genie Chen. But where was Genie Chen now? 2 hours later, Qin Mubai sobered up a little. Sorry, I drank too much. Qin Mubai smiled bitterly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, Who hasn't drunk too much at one time? So, there's no need to feel sorry for this. Right, I still remember many old friends from the Martial Heaven continent. One of them was called Genie Chen. You remember him? Of course. Qin Mubai nodded and asked curiously, Brother Lin, why did you mention him? Nothing. I just suddenly remembered some things and people from the Martial Heaven continent. So I was just asking, do you know where Genie Chen is? Asked Lin Feng. Qin Mubai shook his head. Back then, when the Martial Heaven continent fell into chaos, many people fled, but I don't know where they fled to. The world is huge, especially the starry sky world. It's boundless. There are many places one can go. Yes, there are many places one can go, but perhaps in the end, everyone will gather in the undying world. After all, the undying world is a cultivation, holy land that countless people dream of. Said Lin Feng. Qin Mubai nodded. That's right. By the time the two of them left Idol Restaurant, it was already late at night. However, it was still quite lively outside. An ancient city like Tianshui City was originally a city that never slept. Qin Mubai said, It's getting late. I'll take you to find an inn to stay in. There's no need for that. I'll find an inn to stay in. You drank quite a bit as well, so you should go home and rest. Said Lin Feng. Qin Mubai said, There's no rush. I'll help you find an inn first before I go back. Seeing Qin Mubai's insistence, Lin Feng nodded. Then he walked forward with Qin Mubai. Before long, they saw a group of men and women walking out of a restaurant in front of them. There were about 20 of them. When Qin Mubai saw that group of people, his eyes immediately turned red. Lin Feng noticed that Qin Mubai was staring at a man and a woman. The man was wearing a golden robe and looked to be in high spirits. It was obvious that he was an extraordinary cultivator. The two of them were whispering sweet nothings to each other. There was no consideration at all. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble. Could that person be Qin Mubai's wife? Otherwise, why would Qin Mubai's eyes turn red? It was fine if Qin Mubai couldn't see this kind of thing, but now that Qin Mubai had seen it, Qin Mubai naturally couldn't accept it. Qin Mubai was currently suppressing a ball of fire in his heart. The group of people also seemed to have noticed Qin Mubai and Lin Feng. A group of people walked over. Ha! Isn't this the son-in-law of the Shui clan? Someone said with a smile, It's really him. He reeks of alcohol. Did you go drinking with girls? Someone else said, looking at Qin Mubai with disdain. These people were most likely disciples of the major powers of Tianshui City. The woman in the golden-clothed man's embrace looked at Qin Mubai with disgust and said, It's the middle of the night, yet you're still wandering around outside. You're making our Shui family lose face. Hurry up and go back. Chapter 5144. The corner of Qin Mubai's mouth twitched violently. He wanted to refute a few words, but the cruel reality, the words that were about to come out of his mouth, were all swallowed back into his stomach. How could he refute? After retorting, he would only suffer an even greater humiliation. Lin Feng decided to help Qin Mubai, because now Lin Feng was sure that Qin Mubai was not Zizhao's murderer. And Qin Mubai, he was one of his old friends in the Sky Martial Continent. Now, how many of Lin Feng's old friends were there in the Sky Martial Continent? There really weren't many left. If he could lend a helping hand, Lin Feng naturally had to help Qin Mubai. Helping Qin Mubai would offend the Shui family of the Sky Water City, Lin Feng believed that if the Shui family of the Sky Water City knew what was good for them, they would not fall out with him because of a woman who had lost face for their family. If the Shui family of the Sky Water City did not know what was good for them, Lin Feng did not mind causing a ruckus. So what if it was the Shui family of the Sky Water City? The current Lin Feng. His cultivation was powerful. Furthermore, he had 1,209 Heaven Thunder Source Pearl in his possession. Whoever came to destroy him, Lin Feng was that confident. Brother, let's go. Qin Mubai pulled on Lin Feng's clothes, wanting to leave with Lin Feng quickly. He was worried that these people would vent their anger on Lin Feng, and at that time, even Lin Feng would be implicated. In the past, Qin Mubai and Lin Feng didn't know each other very well, but now that they had met in the undying world, they were like old friends. Tears welled up in their eyes. Suddenly, they had become good friends. Qin Mubai naturally did not wish for anything to happen to Lin Feng. However, Qin Mubai was unable to pull Lin Feng away. Lin Feng looked at the woman and said with a smile, as a fickle woman who doesn't even know whose child she is pregnant with, "You actually have the nerve to say that others have lost face for your family. How thick is your skin to be able to say such words?" Hearing Lin Feng's words, Qin Mubai's face changed. It was over. These were the only words that appeared in Qin Mubai's mind. Then, he was completely stunned on the spot. Lin Feng's words. It was indeed too explosive. Although it sounded very cool and satisfying, it had caused a huge disaster. Therefore, Qin Mubai had no idea what to do next. When the group of people heard Lin Feng's words, they were stunned for a moment before coming back to their senses. Many people were waiting for a good show. The woman who was ridiculed by Lin Feng was so angry that her whole body trembled. He looked at Lin Feng with eyes full of resentment. The golden-robed man's face turned ugly. At this time, Lin Feng looked at the golden-robed man and said, "Brother, I think your family background should be quite good. You can be considered a talent. What kind of woman don't you have? Why did you have to hook up with a broken shoe?" To be honest, those female cultivators who fell into prostitution were forced to do so, so they came out to take on business. However, the woman beside you took the initiative to seduce others. Her body and soul are not as good as those female cultivators who fell into prostitution. Of course, if you like this kind of thing, then it's a different story. Some people will always be cuckolded. It's understandable. I heard that cuckolding is a genetic mental illness. You'd better go home and do a blood test or something to see if your background is wrong. Brother, I didn't mean to humiliate you by saying this. I'm just concerned about you. I'm worried that you'll recognize a thief as your father. Puffed. After hearing Lin Feng's words, some of the cultivators who were watching the show immediately burst into laughter. Lin Feng's words were too vicious. Anyone who heard Lin Feng's words would probably have the urge to kill someone. "Kid, who the F***ck are you? Why are you looking for a sense of existence here? Do you have a death wish?" The golden-robed man glared fiercely at Lin Feng. His gaze was as if he wanted to eat someone. Lin Feng said, "Don't be so agitated." "Why are you so agitated? I don't have any ill intentions." Many people felt that Lin Feng was really shameless. What he said just now didn't have any ill intentions. It was really overflowing with malice. Although Qin Mubai felt very good, when he heard Lin Feng scold the couple, he knew that he had really caused a lot of trouble today. He planned to apologize to Lin Feng and hoped that he could forgive him. No matter how high the price was, he would try his best to protect Lin Feng's life. Qin Mubai wanted to speak, but he was stopped by Lin Feng. Said Lin Feng, "I know what you want to say, Brother Qin. Trust me, I can make you live like a real man. You can live with dignity." "Live with dignity?" Is that possible? Qin Mubai couldn't help but smile bitterly. He also wanted to live with dignity. But all of this, it seemed to be something that was impossible to accomplish. Qin Mubai had resisted before, but he had given up in the end. Now, when he saw Lin Feng's encouraging gaze, Qin Mubai's heart once again surged with a rebellious feeling. Live with dignity. He had to live with dignity. He couldn't do it in front of his brothers. He had lost face. Sometimes life was more precious than dignity, but sometimes dignity was more precious than life. Shui Yinxin, remember your status. You're already someone's wife, yet you're still fooling around outside. Do you see those people watching the show? They'll only laugh at you for being a promiscuous woman. They'll only laugh at the Shui clan for having such an embarrassing thing. And Sun Yinxiang, no matter what, you're still a young master of a large clan. You're actually fooling around with such a woman. You've really embarrassed the Sun clan. Today, in front of everyone, I, Qin Mubai, want to announce that I'm divorcing my wife. A slut like her is even worse than a prostitute. How can she be qualified to be my wife? Qin Mubai had completely exploded. The sullenness, suppression, and anger that had accumulated in his heart all these years were all vented at this moment. Qin Mubai no longer had any scruples. In front of Lin Feng, he had chosen dignity. Perhaps everything that had happened now would set the stage for his death. But Qin Mubai no longer cared about these things. He wanted to die before he died. He wanted to live with dignity for once. But unfortunately, this time, it seemed that he had implicated Lin Feng. Brother, in my next life, I'll do anything to repay you. Rip. A sound was heard. Qin Mubai tore off a large piece of his sleeve. Then he threw it to Shui Yunxin. He said coldly, "A slut like you doesn't have the right to make me write a letter of divorce. Today, cutting off my robe is like divorcing my wife. You've officially been divorced by me. From now on, you and I have nothing to do with each other, and I have nothing to do with your Shui clan." Chapter 5145. I've heard of this Qin Mubai. He's a complete tragedy in the past. Although he's the son-in-law of the Shui clan, everyone knows what kind of woman Shui Yunxin is. Qin Mubai is practically a cuckold. Now, he actually dares to divorce his wife. This is truly inconceivable. Is there something wrong with this guy's head? Divorcing his wife is equivalent to slapping the Shui clan's face. When the time comes, the Shui clan will definitely not let him off. Immediately, a cultivator cried out in shock. When he heard that Qin Mubai had divorced his wife, he still felt a sense of disbelief. Seeing his wife flirt with another man on the street and being humiliated by his wife in front of his friends, no man would be able to take it. After all, Qin Mubai also wants to save face. In the past, he might not have dared to resist because of some misgivings. But now, he no longer has any misgivings. Naturally, he won't be afraid of the other party. Next, a cultivator said, "Once news of Qin Mubai divorcing his wife spreads, it will definitely cause an uproar. When the time comes, the Shui clan won't be the only one to lose face. The Sun clan will also become the focus of public opinion. Who asked Sun Yunxiang to flirt with Shui Yunxin? This guy is really despicable. What kind of woman does he find? Why must he get together with this famous social butterfly? Now, the Sun clan's reputation will probably be ruined. When the time comes, this Sun Yunxiang will definitely be heavily punished." Another cultivator said. The surrounding cultivators were all whispering to each other about this matter. At this moment, Shui Yunxin had already gone mad with anger. Sun Yunxiang's eyes also flashed with dense killing intent. Shui Yunxin pointed at Qin Mubai's nose and cursed, "Qin Mubai, you trash. Do you know what you're doing? Who do you think you are? You dare to insult me? Do you believe that I won't let you die without a burial ground? The moment Shui Yunshin finished speaking, Qin Mubai kicked her in the stomach, sending this fickle bitch flying more than 10 meters away. Shui Yunshin fell to the ground and hugged her stomach as she wailed in pain. B****, I don't usually hit women, but B****, like, you can't even be considered a woman. I've already King divorced you. You can't ride on my head anymore, so you better be polite in front of me, Lin Feng said. Qin Mubai loudly cursed. Fuck, Qin Mubai is a real man. Many cultivators who were watching the show gave Qin Mubai a thumbs up. How could a man let a bitch like Shui Yunshin ride on his head? Qin Mubai's actions really won the hearts of the people. Kill them, said Sun Yunxiang's voice. The Sun clan was a big clan in Tianshui City. They were extremely strong. Therefore, when they heard Sun Yunchang's order, they all rushed towards Lin Feng and Qin Mu by like wolves and tigers. Qin Mubai shouted, Brother Lin, I'll stop these people. Hurry up and run. If you manage to escape, burn some incense for me and tell me what happened. If you don't manage to escape, I'll be your slave in my next life to repay you, said Lin Feng. Why would I need to escape? They're just a bunch of trash. Many people were dumbstruck when they heard Lin Feng. Lin Feng had called the young geniuses of Celestial Water City a bunch of small fish. Wasn't that too arrogant? The sky prides of Tianshui City were quite powerful. Brat, you're courting death. Brat, we're going to cut you into 1,000 pieces. The geniuses of Tianshui City all said coldly. Lin Feng had really infuriated them. Let them, they hated Lin Feng to the core. They just wanted to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. That brat is going to die a horrible death, said one of the cultivators who were watching the show. That was what many people thought. How dare he humiliate the geniuses of Tianshui City? Those geniuses, they wouldn't let it go. Kneel. At that moment, a cold voice rang out. Instantly, the geniuses of Tianshui City, who were charging towards Lin Feng and Qin Mubai, all knelt on the ground. After seeing this scene, everyone showed an extremely shocked expression. No one dared to believe that this was real, but it was all real. Lin Feng had only said the 2 words, kneel, and a large group of geniuses had actually knelt on the ground. It was unbelievable. They didn't even know what was going on. It's pressure. When he said the word kneel, an invisible pressure was released. They couldn't withstand that invisible pressure, so they all knelt on the ground, said Lin Feng. An old man said with a serious expression, Invisible pressure? No way. Why didn't I feel any pressure? Logically speaking, if he released his pressure, even if it wasn't directed at us, we should still be able to feel it. Could it be that I'm the only one who didn't feel it? Can you all sense this pressure? Immediately, a cultivator asked doubtfully, I didn't feel it either. I didn't feel it either. I didn't feel it either. One by one, the cultivators who were watching the show said, none of them felt this invisible pressure. The old man said, it's precisely because we didn't feel it that this person is terrifying. This means that this person has perfect control over his pressure. His pressure is only targeted at the geniuses. Others won't be able to feel it. After hearing the old man's words, everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Wasn't this too awesome? How terrifying was his control, to be able to control his pressure so perfectly. It was simply unimaginable. It was simply shocking. The group of geniuses who were kneeling on the ground also came back to their senses. Their expressions became incomparably ugly. It was a great humiliation to kneel on the ground in front of so many people. These geniuses were existences who could do whatever they wanted in Tianshui City. When had they ever been humiliated like this? However, When they thought about how terrifying Lin Feng was, they didn't dare to say a word. Lin Feng was really too powerful. He was so powerful that it made their hearts tremble. They really couldn't understand how a lowly son-in-law like Qin Mubai could be so powerful. How did he get to know such an awesome person like Lin Feng? If they had known that Lin Feng was so terrifying, even if they were beaten to death, they wouldn't have participated in this matter. It's your turn. Are you going to kneel on your own, or do you want me to make you kneel? Lin Feng said to Sun Yunqiang. Chapter 5146. Sun Yunqiang's expression became unsettled. His identity was different from those ordinary geniuses. He was a direct descendant of the Sun family. The Sun family was one of the top families in the Tianshui city. Even the Shui family did not dare to underestimate the Sun family's strength. If a top young master like him were to kneel on the ground, then he would really be finished. The family would definitely give up on him. I am from the Sun family, Sun Yunqiang said in a deep voice. He brought out the Sun family. He wanted to use the Sun family's reputation to intimidate Lin Feng. But Lin Feng was really not familiar with the Sun family. Lin Feng's enemy was the Celestial Emperor, the Crown Prince, Di Wudao, and the Heavenly Court. What was the Sun family? Not to mention the Sun family. Even the powerful and unfathomable Shui family was nothing in Lin Feng's eyes. Is the Sun family very powerful? Lin Feng asked. The corner of Sun Yunqiang's mouth twitched violently. He used the Sun family to intimidate Lin Feng, but Lin Feng did not know if the Sun family was powerful or not. It was as if he had punched cotton. The Sun family has a golden, immortal level expert. A cultivator who was watching the show reminded him. Oh. Lin Feng nodded. Then he continued, Hurry up and kneel down, my patience is limited. Seeing that Lin Feng was still so domineering, many people felt that their heads couldn't turn. Didn't that cultivator just remind this guy that the Sun family had a golden immortal level expert? Why did this guy? It was as if he didn't hear it. Could it be? Did this guy really not put the Sun family's experts in his eyes? That was a golden immortal. Brat, don't think that you can be impudent here just because you have some ability. Tianshui City is not a place for you to be impudent. Sun Yunqiang said coldly, You talk too much. Lin Feng couldn't help but say speechlessly, Kneel down. His voice suddenly turned cold. When Lin Feng's voice fell, Lin Feng's body suddenly emitted a terrifying pressure. That terrifying pressure directly enveloped Sun Yunqiang. Sun Yunqiang is at the heavenly immortal stage. Additionally, he possesses great talent and is capable of challenging cultivators at a higher level. It is said that he is capable of fighting against cultivators at the starry immortal stage for tens of rounds without losing. That young master wants to use his aura to suppress Sun Yunqiang? A cultivator said. That's right. I've underestimated Sun Yunqiang. I'm afraid that he'll only embarrass himself later. Another cultivator said, Brat, you think too highly of yourself. I was just about to see what you're capable of. Sun Yunqiang looked coldly at Lin Feng. He was about to rush towards Lin Feng. Then he fought Lin Feng. But at this time, Lin Feng's body emitted a terrifying pressure that suppressed Sun Yunqiang. Sun Yunqiang was unable to resist. There was a thump. He immediately knelt on the ground. This is impossible. Sun Yunqiang was unable to accept this and shouted in disbelief. The surrounding cultivators who were watching the show were all extremely shocked. An expert like Sun Yunqiang, surprisingly, he couldn't resist Lin Feng's oppressive strength. Everyone's hearts seemed to be in a state of shock. Who are you? Shui Yunxin looked at Lin Feng in horror. Lin Feng was simply too powerful. She was scared out of her wits. Beside her, Qin Mubai also had an expression of disbelief. Wasn't Lin Feng too strong? Back then, when he was in the Sky Martial Continent, he was a top genius, while Lin Feng was just a cultivator who had just revealed his talent. He was not even qualified. Now, how many years had it been? He was just a small character that he had left far behind in the past. He actually needed to look up to him now. Qin Mubai couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't know what Lin Feng had experienced all these years to become so powerful. Lin Feng didn't care about Shui Yunxin at all. A slut. Was she qualified to talk to him? Lin Feng looked at Sun Yunxiang and the others who were kneeling on the ground and said, "Aren't you guys very awesome? Do you think that with some strength and the support of some mediocre forces, you can do whatever you want? Isn't reality a slap to your face?" Hearing Lin Feng's address of the forces behind Sun Yunxiang and the others, many people couldn't help but smile bitterly. Those forces were not weak. To think that they were a mediocre force in Lin Feng's eyes. Perhaps that young master really had the qualifications to say that. "We were wrong, let us go." Some heaven's prides began to beg for mercy, but there were also some who remained silent with gloomy faces. "Call Qin Mubai your ancestor, and I'll let you go," Lin Feng said with a smile. "Damn, he's really a devil." Many people couldn't help but mutter. Lin Feng's methods were simply too despicable. If they shouted like that, how would they be able to live in the future? Back to the clan. They would probably be severely punished by the clan. Qin Mubai couldn't help but smile bitterly. He really admired Lin Feng's methods of dealing with people. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to think of such a despicable move. This little brother actually didn't hesitate to offend so many people from great powers for his friends. He's really too handsome. I really want to get to know this little brother. Yeah, this little brother is really too domineering. He's too manly. I really want to give birth to his children. Some young female cultivators muttered softly, looking at Lin Feng with eyes full of admiration. Some beautiful women looked at Lin Feng with even bolder and fiery gazes. Lin Feng, young, handsome, powerful, domineering. He was really a woman's dream. Lin Feng said indifferently, "What? You're not willing to call me that? Since that's the case, I'll cripple your limbs first." Hearing that Lin Feng was going to cripple their limbs, many people were so scared that their faces turned pale. They believed Lin Feng's words. After all, Lin Feng was really too powerful. These powerful cultivators naturally didn't care too much when they did things. Often, they were existences who kept their word. If their limbs were crippled, they would be crippled. In the world of cultivators where strength was respected, once a person became a cripple, they would live a life worse than death. "Don't cripple us. We'll shout. We'll shout." Some geniuses couldn't hold it in anymore and hurriedly shouted, "Qin Mubai is our ancestor. Qin Mubai is our ancestor. Qin Mubai is our ancestor." The geniuses began to shout loudly. Some cultivators who heard that there was a commotion here came over and saw a group of geniuses kneeling on the ground and shouting that Qin Mubai was their ancestor. Those cultivators were dumbfounded. Wasn't Qin Mubai a son-in-law who had been cuckolded for many years and was bullied by everyone? In front of these geniuses, Qin Mubai's status was even lower than that of a servant. Now, this group of geniuses, why were they all calling Qin Mubai their ancestor? This caused everyone to be extremely astonished. Many people were even more puzzled. They didn't know why those cultivators were kneeling on the ground and calling Qin Mubai their ancestor. Chapter 5147. What happened? Some of the cultivators asked aloud. They had just arrived. They didn't know much about what had happened here. When the cultivators heard what had happened, they were immediately shocked. Many of them looked at Lin Feng, trying to guess who Lin Feng was. Daring to humiliate the cultivators of the Shui clan, Sun clan, and other forces in Tianshui City could no longer be described as audacious. Therefore, many people were curious about Lin Feng. Only a ferocious dragon could cross a river. Lin Feng was definitely a terrifying cultivator. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so audacious. Besides, Lin Feng had only shown a small part of his strength. He hadn't shown his real strength yet. Regarding this point, everyone firmly believed without a doubt. Young man, do you know what you are doing by humiliating them like this? You should leave a way out for others. Otherwise, you will bring trouble upon yourself." At this time, a voice suddenly came out of thin air. Clearly, there was an expert secretly threatening Lin Feng. Lin Feng said indifferently, "I think these clans should be thanking me. After all, I am teaching these guys how to behave. In this world, there is always someone better than you, so it's better not to be so arrogant. It's fine if you meet me, because I don't like to kill people. If you provoke other experts, these people might have already been beheaded, and in the end, they might even implicate the clans behind them." The voice sounded again. "You said they were arrogant, but aren't you arrogant? You are all just the pot calling the kettle black." Lin Feng said, "I'm happy to be arrogant. If you have the ability, come out and hit me." After hearing Lin Feng's answer, many people couldn't help but laugh bitterly. In the eyes of the surrounding cultivators, Lin Feng was really a shameless guy. However, if they thought about it carefully, Lin Feng's arrogance was completely different from Sun Yunxiang's arrogance. First of all, Sun Yunxiang and the others took the initiative to bully and humiliate others, but these guys were not strong enough and were instead trampled under others' feet. Secondly, Lin Feng's arrogance was because he wanted to help his friend, so he launched a counterattack. Lin Feng was the kind of person who didn't take the initiative to provoke others, but he would absolutely not swallow the insult when he was bullied. Not only would he not swallow this insult, he might even return it to the other party tenfold. Besides, furthermore, Lin Feng possessed an unfathomable cultivation base. It was not something that Sun Yunxiang could compare to. Sun Yunxiang and the others were indeed powerful, but in front of Lin Feng, they were no different from ants. In this world, after all, this was a world where the strong ruled. If one wasn't strong enough, one should keep a low profile. Don't act tough all the time, and don't think too highly of yourself. As for those experts who acted pretentious and arrogant because he had the ability to do so, not convinced. Sure, you can go up and trample them under your feet, or you can act cool. If he didn't have the ability, he could only hold it in. Lin Feng was currently in the situation of, "I'm arrogant, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, you have to hold it in even if you're not convinced." The expert hidden in the dark said coldly, "Junior, I originally didn't want to make a move on you because of my status, but if you're stubborn, don't blame me for being impolite." Lin Feng said, "Don't hold it in. If you want to make a move, then hurry up and do it. My time is limited. I don't have that much time to waste here with you." Lin Feng's attitude was still as arrogant as before. He didn't put the other party in his eyes at all. Many people guessed that the expert hidden in the dark should be a true immortal realm expert. How terrifying was such an expert? How high was his status? Naturally, it wouldn't be easy for him to make a move. Everyone felt that Lin Feng should be able to guess the other party's identity, but Lin Feng still looked down on the other party. This was what made everyone feel the most inconceivable. Of course, Lin Feng had indeed displayed extraordinary strength before, and many people felt that Lin Feng was very likely to have the strength to compete with a true immortal. However, having the strength to compete with a true immortal and not putting a true immortal realm expert in his eyes were two different concepts. Junior, today, I will teach you a good lesson on behalf of your elders. I won't kill you, but I will cripple one of your arms to teach you a lesson, the expert hidden in the dark said coldly. After he finished speaking, the void trembled slightly, and a cultivator walked out of the void. This cultivator was a skinny old man with a gloomy and terrifying gaze. After seeing this person, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Sun Tianyue, it's actually him. This person is the hidden expert of the Sun family. A cultivator said. So he's Sun Tianyue. He's an incomparably terrifying existence. It's said that he already has 1 foot in the Tao immortal realm. If he takes action, how can that young master fight against him? They're probably not on the same level at all. Then, another cultivator said, with Sun Tianyue's reputation, everyone naturally thought highly of him. In addition to this reason, there was another reason. The main reason was that Lin Feng was simply too young. At such a young age, even though he was the son of the sage emperor, it was already very heaven-defying for him to have the strength of a virtual immortal. Sun Tianyue had 1 foot in the Tao immortal realm. In addition, he was an expert with a strong foundation and had been in the Tao immortal realm for countless years. Although he had not stepped into the Tao immortal realm, he already had the strength to fight against some Tao immortal realm cultivators. Therefore, Lin Feng was naturally nothing in front of Sun Tianyue. After seeing Sun Tianyue, Sun Yunxiang immediately shouted, "Ancestor, save me!" At this moment, Sun Yunxiang's eyes were blood red. He had suffered such a great humiliation today. It made Sun Yunxiang go crazy with hatred. Now, finally, there was hope for revenge. He didn't believe that Lin Feng had the strength to deal with Sun Tianyue. In fact, it wasn't just Sun Yunxiang who didn't believe that Lin Feng had the strength to deal with Sun Tianyue. Basically, no one thought so. Even Qin Mubai. He was also worried for Lin Feng. Wait a moment. After I deal with this brat, I will naturally return your freedom. Sun Tianyue said. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zichen's voice fell. He walked towards Lin Feng step by step. Sun Tianyue's body emitted an extremely powerful pressure. That pressure, it was suffocating. Many of the spectating cultivators couldn't withstand that terrifying pressure and had no choice but to quickly retreat. The pressure emitted from Sun Tianyue's body directly suppressed Lin Feng. Chapter 5148. Sun Tianyue's strength is too strong. Even the pressure emanating from his body is so terrifying. That kid won't be defeated by Sun Tianyue's pressure, right? Some cultivators cried out in alarm. That's really possible. Many cultivators chimed in. I don't think so. Although Sun Tianyue is strong now, he hasn't broken through to the Tao immortal realm. That young master of the human race has the strength of a virtual immortal. Although he might not be a match for Sun Tianyue, the gap between them shouldn't be too big. Therefore, in my opinion, it's unrealistic for Sun Tianyue to defeat that young master of the human race with his pressure. At this moment, another cultivator spoke up. This cultivator's words also gained the approval of many people. At this moment, the powerful pressure emanating from Sun Tianyue's body suppressed Lin Feng's body. However, Lin Feng seemed to be fine. After seeing this scene, some of the cultivators who thought highly of Lin Feng immediately said, "This young master of the human race is indeed extraordinary. He's completely fine." The cultivators who thought that Sun Tianyue could defeat Lin Feng with his powerful pressure were shocked. They realized that they seemed to have underestimated Lin Feng. How could Lin Feng, who possessed such terrifying strength at such a young age, be a simple character? Presumably, He must have many extraordinary methods. Of course, even if Lin Feng had many extraordinary methods, in their opinion, it would still be extremely difficult for him to fight against Sun Tianyue. However, these people didn't continue to speak. They were all silently observing the development of the situation. Ignorant fool. Yi Fuqian sneered. Lin Feng said indifferently, "What did you say?" Sun Tianyue thought that he had heard wrong. The cultivators who were watching the show were also stunned because of those words. It was really too humiliating, and Lin Feng was humiliating a powerful existence like Sun Tianyue. This was completely shedding all pretense of cordiality. Sun Tianyue had just said that he would cripple one of Lin Feng's arms. But now, it wouldn't be as simple as crippling one of Lin Feng's arms. It was very likely that he would crush Lin Feng's bones and scatter his ashes. Don't you understand human language? Lin Feng looked at Sun Tianyue mockingly. Qin Mubai, who was at the side, had a bitter smile on his face. Lin Feng really didn't put Sun Tianyue in his eyes. But Sun Tianyue was so powerful. Was it really okay to not put Sun Tianyue in his eyes? An arrogant army was defeated. Qin Mubai's heart couldn't help but feel very uneasy. Preposterous. I've seen many, but this is the first time I've seen someone as arrogant as you. But this is the first time. This is the first I've seen such an arrogant person's is. This is the first time. This is the first. T.S. Sun Tianyue looked at Lin Feng indifferently and walked towards him step by step. Obviously, he wanted to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Are you a King idiot? You're about to cripple one of my arms. Do you think I should kneel down and lick your boots? I don't know if your brain has been kicked by a donkey, but you can still say such ignorant, shameless, and stupid words. Brat, go to hell." Sun Tianyue was enraged by Lin Feng's words and sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Everyone held their breaths at this moment. Everyone wanted to see how Lin Feng would deal with Sun Tianyue's attack. At this moment, Lin Feng moved. Lin Feng's speed was too fast, like an afterimage. He instantly arrived beside Sun Tianyue. Even Sun Tianyue's palm strike was unable to touch Lin Feng. Then, Lin Feng slapped Sun Tianyue. Pa! The sound of a loud slap was heard. Lin Feng's slap ruthlessly landed on Sun Tianyue's face. Sun Tianyue's face. Instantly, it swelled up. Sun Tianyue's eyes couldn't help but turn blood red. He, a dignified, true immortal expert, was actually slapped in the face in front of so many people. This was to him. Naturally, it was a great humiliation. The rest of the people's eyes couldn't help but widen. Everyone had a look of disbelief on their faces. Sun Tianyue, he was actually slapped by that young human cultivator. That young human cultivator's speed was simply too fast. So, everybody didn't even know how Lin Feng had attacked. "I'm going to kill you!" Sun Tianyue roared in anger. He punched towards Lin Feng, but Lin Feng was one step ahead. Bang! Accompanied by the sound of a violent collision, Lin Feng's punch ruthlessly landed on Sun Tianyue's abdomen. That tyrannical punch directly sent Sun Tianyue flying. Sun Tianyue's entire body was sent flying. Wah! In midair, Sun Tianyue couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His face turned as white as a sheet. Plop! Sun Tianyue fell directly to the ground. He tried his best to get up, but then he fell to the ground and fainted. He knocked Sun Tianyue out with a single punch. Isn't that too savage? Exclamations of shock rang out. Everyone was shocked. The battle strength that Lin Feng displayed could be described as heaven-defying. No matter who it was, they would feel as if they were in a dream. When Sun Yinxiang and the rest saw this scene, they were completely completely dumbfounded. It was only now that they realized how terrifying Lin Feng was. Right now, the group of people looked at Lin Feng as if they were looking at a demon. Brother Lin, you. Qin Mubai also became incoherent. Lin Feng's strength deeply shocked his heart, so much so that Qin Mubai's mind went blank. Lin Feng said, "Brother Qin, let's go." Qin Mubai hurriedly nodded and rushed out with Lin Feng. The surrounding area had long been surrounded by people that not even a drop of water could trickle through. But when they saw Lin Feng and Qin Mubai walking over, they hurriedly opened a path for them. They didn't dare to stop Lin Feng and Qin Mubai. After they walked out of the crowd, Qin Mubai said, "The Sun family has a golden, immortal expert overseeing it. Let's leave together." Lin Feng said, "It's fine. Even a golden, immortal can't do anything to me." Qin Mubai couldn't help but sigh. The current Lin Feng was too strong, wasn't he? Now, he believed whatever Lin Feng said. Lin Feng said, "Do you plan to leave by yourself, or do you plan to take that woman with you?" Qin Mubai said, "I'll take her with me." Qin Mubai's choice made Lin Feng feel rather gratified. Before leaving, Qin Mubai wanted to take that ordinary woman with him. This was enough to show that Qin Mubai's character was quite good. Chapter 5149. Lin Feng followed Qin Mubai to the leisure gathering house. Lin Feng was waiting for Qin Mubai outside. Qin Mubai went in to talk to the woman about this matter. Lin Feng did not know how the cultivators of the Shui family, the Sun family, and the other forces would deal with this matter. But no matter how they dealt with it, Lin Feng had his own countermeasures. Why would he be afraid of them? Not long after, Qin Mubai and the woman walked out together. The restaurant itself was rented and operated. The property that did not belong to Qin Mubai and the others would be due in a few months. So, he did not want the rent for those few months either. Lin Feng brought them out of Tianshui City. "Go to Sin Realm and say that you are my friend. I will take good care of you there," Lin Feng said as he looked at Qin Mubai. "Sin Realm? You are really that person from Sin Realm?" Qin Mubai looked at Lin Feng in shock. Who didn't know the name of the Sinner's Blood Emperor? The weight of this name was immeasurable. The reason why this name was so important was because it was not only because the Sinner's Blood Emperor was powerful. There were many powerful young geniuses, but no one's reputation could be compared to the Sinner's Blood Emperor. Why was that? Because the Sinner's Blood Emperor was the leader of all the Sinner's Blood Emperors. There were many experts under the Sinner's Blood Emperor, and those experts had joined forces because of the Sinner's Blood Emperor, forming a powerful force that even the heavenly court did not dare to underestimate. This was the deterrence and cohesion of the Sinner's Blood Emperor. And now, when Qin Mubai found out that his old friend was actually the famous Sinner's Blood Emperor, his heart was naturally filled with shock. Lin Feng said, "Even if I am that person, we are still friends. Take her and leave quickly." Qin Mubai nodded heavily. To have a friend like Lin Feng, it was truly something to be proud of. Qin Mubai even wanted to shout out loud. However, he restrained the impulse in his heart. Qin Mubai said, "You have to be careful too." "I will," Lin Feng said. Qin Mubai and the woman left together. Lin Feng watched them leave, and then went back to Celestial Water City. Lin Feng found a rather high-end inn in Tianshui City and rented a courtyard. Then, he lay on the bed to rest. While drinking with Qin Mubai, Lin Feng had already learned about the auction from Qin Mubai. There was still half a month before the auction. Therefore, he still needed to wait here for a while. Lin Feng's mind was now filled with the crescent moon grass, snow dragon grass, and the shadow of the pure, clean water. He hoped that everything would go smoothly, and then quickly wake up Lung Zishi, this big beauty. That night, Lin Feng slept exceptionally soundly, and no one came to disturb him. However, in the morning, some cultivators came to Lin Feng's courtyard one after another. They were all cultivators from the major forces of Sky Water City. The arrival of these cultivators attracted the attention of many people. Many cultivators were watching from afar. They were puzzled. They didn't know what was going on for so many cultivators from great powers to come. Not long after, 3 cultivators came together. These 3 cultivators were all white-haired old men. Their auras were deep and powerful. With a single glance, one could tell that they were extremely terrifying cultivators. It's the patriarchs of the Shui clan, Sun clan, and Wu clan. Someone recognized the identity of the 3 cultivators. The 3 of them came from 3 top forces. They were all experts with a strong foundation. However, no one knew exactly what they were called. Generally speaking, these ancestor-level experts would not easily interfere in the affairs of the outside world. Now that the 3 great ancestor-level powerhouses had come together, it was quite a rare thing. What exactly happened? The cultivators from the great powers of Tianshui City have all arrived, and there are even 3 ancestor-level experts. Some of the cultivators who were watching the show said, in confusion, the situation in front of him, it was indeed very shocking. It also filled people's hearts with doubt. I'm not sure. Many cultivators shook their heads. They didn't know what was going on either. Today's matter was indeed very strange. Those cultivators. He decided to wait and see. Very soon, the 3 ancestor-level experts arrived outside Lin Feng's courtyard. Greetings, ancestor. The cultivators from the great powers all bowed to the 3 ancestor-level experts. The 3 ancestor-level experts nodded. The cultivators then stood up. The 3 ancestor-level experts whispered to each other for a while. Then the Shui clan's ancestor said, "Fellow Taoist, I took the liberty to come here. I wonder if we can talk face to face." Seeing the Shui clan's ancestor being so courteous, the cultivators who were watching the show couldn't help but reveal shocked expressions. Originally, everyone thought that so many people had come. They definitely didn't come with good intentions. But the reality was, it didn't seem to be the case. I know who the person living inside is. I saw him enter the courtyard to rest yesterday. At this time, a cultivator said, "Who lives inside?" Then someone asked impatiently, "Did you hear about what happened last night?" The cultivator didn't answer, but asked instead, "Sir, are you talking about the incident where those geniuses were taught a lesson last night? Even Sun Tianyue, who tried to suppress that young cultivator, was taught a lesson?" Someone asked with a look of uncertainty. The cultivator nodded and said, "The person living inside is the young master who attacked last night." "What? It's him? Heavens, he actually didn't leave after getting into such a big mess." One of the cultivators said in disbelief. Logically speaking, Lin Feng, who had gotten into such a big mess, should have left. That was human nature. But not only did Lin Feng not leave, he even stayed in Tianshui City. It was truly puzzling. Who knows what this guy is thinking? Maybe it's because he has enough confidence in himself. Someone then said, "But some of the top powers in Tianshui City have golden immortals overseeing them. This person is indeed powerful, but can he really defeat a golden immortal?" Someone voiced out the doubts in their hearts. "I don't know. I wonder what the 3 patriarchs will do next. But judging from their attitude, it doesn't seem like they're here to cause trouble. It's truly puzzling. Those great powers suffered such a big loss, yet they're here to negotiate." A cultivator said, feeling puzzled. Just as everyone was discussing animatedly, the door to the courtyard opened by itself. Next, Lin Feng's voice rang out from the courtyard. Come in. Chapter 5150. Lin Feng was waiting for them in the living room. When the three of them entered the living room and saw Lin Feng, they couldn't help but be stunned. Lin Feng was really too young. They had a feeling that they couldn't put into words. They were once as young as Lin Feng, but things had changed with the passage of time. Now, they were old and weak, although they were all experts with a strong foundation. If they didn't have a great opportunity, it would be impossible for them to change their fate. It was also very difficult to defy the heavens and change one's fate. This was something they were very clear about. Therefore, when they saw that Lin Feng was so young and so strong, they couldn't help but feel jealous. However, they didn't express their feelings. They were all sly old foxes, so they knew how to maintain their reputation. Please have a seat. Lin Feng said. Thank you. The three of them cupped their fists and said. They then sat down. Lin Feng said, Why are you three here today? We are here because of yesterday's matter. Yesterday's disciples offended you in any way. Please forgive us. The ancestor of the Shui clan said. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. This was different from what he had imagined. Lin Feng had always thought that these people wouldn't let the matter rest, but now they were actually so humble. This really surprised Lin Feng. There was definitely something fishy going on. Lin Feng naturally understood this logic. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that this matter wasn't simple, and there might be something fishy going on. Of course, Lin Feng didn't expose them. He wanted to see what they were up to. Lin Feng said, I didn't take yesterday's matter to heart. Thank you for your magnanimity, young master. This is a small token from us. Please accept it. The ancestor of the Shui clan stood up and handed a storage ring to Lin Feng. Lin Feng's divine sense entered the ring, and he found that there were 1 billion immortal stones inside. 1 billion immortal stones was nothing to Lin Feng, but when it came to actual numbers, 1 billion immortal stones. To any other force, this was a considerable amount of wealth. These powers had taken out 1 billion immortal stones to apologize to him, and they seemed to be rather sincere. Lin Feng accepted the 1 billion immortal stones. He then said, What happened before is over. You don't need to take it to heart. However, in the future, when you educate the disciples of the clan, you should restrain their behavior so that they don't get into trouble. It wouldn't be good if the power behind them was involved. You're right, sir. Once we return, we'll definitely restrain our disciples, the three ancestors said in unison. Lin Feng looked at the patriarch in the lead. Needless to say, Lin Feng also knew that this person was the patriarch of the Shui clan. This was because the Shui clan was the biggest power in the Skywater City, the leader of the group. Naturally, it was the old ancestor of the Shui clan. Lin Feng asked, I've heard that the Shui clan has a long history and is good at collecting treasures. Does the Shui clan have any news about snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass? Snow dragon grass and crescent moon grass are both extremely rare heavenly treasures. They can only survive under extremely harsh conditions, so they are extremely rare. However, I remember that there is a snow dragon grass in the ancestral lands of the Shui clan. I don't have any impression of the crescent moon grass. If young master isn't in a hurry to leave, I can send someone to the ancestral lands to retrieve the snow dragon grass. At the same time, I can help young master inquire about the crescent moon grass. Lin Feng was overjoyed when he heard this. If he could obtain the snow dragon grass from the Shui clan, then the only thing left to collect was the crescent moon grass. Perhaps the Shui clan could help him find the crescent moon grass? Lin Feng said, Thank you, fellow Taoist. You're too polite, sir. The old ancestor of the Shui clan laughed. However, this smile of his seemed to contain a deeper meaning. An hour later, the three ancestors left. You may leave, the old ancestor of the Shui clan, said. The cultivators from the large factions and those who had come to watch the show didn't dare to linger and quickly left. However, many people were still talking about the fact that the three great ancestors had come together. In a short period of time, this matter became a hot topic of discussion. The three ancestors returned to the Shui clan. In the main hall, the old ancestor of the Sun clan said, "We've temporarily stabilized Lin Feng. Once Crown Prince Di Wudao arrives, we'll have done a great service." Ha 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 ha. Indeed, the Crown Prince, Di Wudao, after capturing that little boy, he'll force Lin Beitian to come out. Once Lin Beitian comes out, he'll kill him and we'll all benefit from it. The old ancestor of the Wu clan couldn't help but laugh. These people had already found out Lin Feng's identity and had even informed Di Wudao. During this time, Di Wudao had indeed been searching for Lin Feng's whereabouts. Some time ago, Di Wudao had passed by Tianshui City because of some matters. It was said that the Mirror of Future seemed to have seen some scenes of the future. The Mirror of Future told Di Wudao, one day in the future, Lin Feng would appear in Tianshui City, and that day shouldn't be too far away from now. After hearing the Mirror of Future's words, Di Wudao roped in several of the top factions in Tianshui City. When Lin Feng had appeared, he had told him to come. Now that the three ancestors had found out Lin Feng's identity, they immediately informed Di Wudao and tried to stabilize Lin Feng. Except for Di Wudao, the three ancestors also sent the news back to the ancestral land. The three of them were all high-level Dao immortals. Although they were strong, they weren't eternal immortals. Their strength hadn't reached the level where they could pierce through heaven and earth. This time, they sent the news back to the ancestral land in the hope that the golden immortals in the ancestral land would come. If Di Wudao hadn't come, and Lin Feng wanted to leave, they could ask the golden immortals to deal with Lin Feng. If Di Wudao hadn't come, if Lin Feng hadn't left, then their golden immortals wouldn't have to do anything. Although they had joined Di Wudao, if they didn't have to personally deal with the Sinner's Blood Emperor, they would try their best not to personally deal with the Sinner's Blood Emperor. After all, the power behind the Sinner's Blood Emperor Lin Feng was extremely terrifying. They were worried that the power behind Lin Feng would take revenge. What we need to do now is try to stabilize Lin Feng. We can't let him leave Tianshui City no matter what. When the Golden Immortals or the Crown Prince arrive, we can completely relax. When that time comes, Lin Feng won't be able to leave Tianshui City even if he wants to. Wonderful, wonderful. The Sun and Wu ancestors couldn't help but praise. It was as though they could see Lin Feng becoming Di Wudao's prisoner. The two ancestors couldn't help but smile coldly. Chapter 51:51. Inside the room, Lin Feng was sitting cross-legged, silently adjusting his breathing. "Great, immortal Sacred Martin said, I think we should leave. The other party clearly has another goal. You have to understand the principle of seeking fortune and avoiding calamity. Cultivators in the world of cultivators must know how to seek fortune and avoid calamity. Otherwise, you'll probably die a miserable death." Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, "Can't you say something nice? Are you cursing me?" Sacred Martin immediately said, "I'm not cursing you. I'm just reminding you. I hope you can understand this principle and don't be too stubborn. Sometimes you have to learn to be flexible." Lin Feng was speechless. Sacred Martin was too cautious, so it would immediately run away when it sensed that something was wrong. Lin Feng could sense that the three ancestors were up to no good, so Sacred Martin could naturally sense it as well, so it couldn't sit still. Lin Feng said, "Don't worry, everything is under my control." Sacred Martin said, "I know that you have a lot of 9 heavenly lightning source pearls now, and you think that you can rely on them to be fearless. However, There are many people in this world who are difficult to predict, and their methods are extremely terrifying. Thus, you have to be careful of them. You can't be careless, especially the cultivators from these great powers. You can't underestimate them. Lin Feng said, "My confidence doesn't come from the 9 heavenly lightning source pearls, but from my own strength. Don't interfere with my business in the future, or I'll smash you to pieces." When the great sage Martin heard Lin Feng's threat, he shrank back in fear. Lin Feng's threat was very effective, so the Martin shut up. Lin Feng spent the next half a month in seclusion. He was waiting for the auction to begin. Lin Feng's goal was the pure clean aqua. As for the other items, Lin Feng didn't care. Of course, if he saw something useful to him, Lin Feng would also bid for it. The promotion of the auction was very effective. Many cultivators came for this auction. Lin Feng also came to the auction. The huge auction that could accommodate 300,000 cultivators was simply packed to the brim. Everyone was excitedly discussing the auction. Not long after, the cultivator in charge of the auction walked out. There were 2 cultivators presiding over the auction. One was a middle-aged man, and the other was a beautiful woman. The 2 introduced themselves. The middle-aged man was called Zhang Sun Wuhen. The beautiful woman was called Sikong Qingwan. Under their auspices, the auction items were brought out one by one. Among them, there was no lack of extremely precious items. There were even some top-grade immortal artifacts, bronze artifacts, stone artifacts, and other supreme treasures. So many supreme treasures were naturally very attractive to cultivators. Therefore, the competition in the auction was very fierce. In order to compete for some treasures, many people raised the price of the treasures to an extremely high level. Lin Feng had not participated in the competition. He did not lack all kinds of treasures here, but there were basically no treasures that could really interest Lin Feng. After about 100 auction items were auctioned, a servant came up with a tray. On the tray was a porcelain bottle. The beauty said, "Everyone, the supreme treasure in this porcelain bottle is the legendary dustless clean aqua. I believe everyone has heard of dustless clean aqua. It comes from the heavenly realm and can cleanse a cultivator's body and even their soul. In addition, dustless clean aqua is the main material for refining many top-grade immortal pills. The preciousness of dustless clean aqua is not only because of its powerful effect, but also because of its rarity. Because dustless clean aqua is too rare, dustless clean aqua has always been a priceless item. Now, this bottle of dustless clean aqua has a base price of 30 million immortal stones. Each bid must not be lower than 1 million immortal stones." After the beautiful woman's voice faded away, there was a brief silence in the auction. The base price of 30 million was indeed an extremely high price. One had to know that the price of an ordinary immortal artifact was only about 30 million. However, the base price of dustless clean aqua had already reached 30 million. Who knew how high the final price would be? Of course, this kind of item was a luxury item for countless people. Naturally, they could not afford it. However, for cultivators who needed it, it was worth it no matter how high the price was. 100 million. After a brief silence, someone called out a price. The other party was obviously not short of money. He raised the price to 100 million. This made many people feel very amazed. 120 million. Then, someone quoted a new price. 130 million. Someone called out a new price. 140 million. 170 million. More and more people joined in the bidding. It seemed that there were many cultivators who were interested in dustless clean aqua. These cultivators were basically cultivators from top-grade factions. Rogue cultivators. It was very difficult to have such powerful financial resources. However, Those cultivators from top-grade factions were different. There was a powerful force behind them. They could mobilize large amounts of money. When competing for these treasures, they were full of confidence. The price of dustless clean aqua soared, and it did not take long for it to exceed 1 billion. It had already increased by more than 30 times. According to the previous auctions, the final price would increase by more than 30 times. However, dustless clean aqua was different. Firstly, it was because dustless clean aqua came from the heavenly realm. It was rare and extremely precious. Secondly, dustless clean aqua was useful for many cultivators, especially for cleansing the body and soul. It was highly valued by many top-grade experts of the major factions. Therefore, those cultivators from the major factions were still constantly raising the price of dustless clean aqua. The price of dustless clean aqua was still soaring. It did not take long for it to reach an astonishing 2 billion, although this price had already scared off many people. However, there were still some people who continued to compete for dustless clean aqua. 10 billion! At this moment, a voice suddenly resounded in the auction. Someone actually raised the price to 10 billion. After hearing this price, the corners of the cultivators who were still bidding could not help but twitch slightly. Chapter 51-52. Everyone looked at the cultivator who made the bid. Then, they realized that it was a young cultivator. Who is this person? Many people were puzzled. How could such a young cultivator take out 10 billion immortal stones? Was this a joke? It's him. However, some cultivators recognized Lin Feng. They were present when Lin Feng taught the group of geniuses and Sun Tianyue a lesson. Later, they heard that even the ancestors of the Shui clan, Sun clan, and Wu clan went to negotiate with the young cultivator. This matter caused a huge uproar. Many people guessed Lin Feng's identity. He's the young master who had a conflict with the Shui clan, Sun clan, and the others. A cultivator said, "What? He's that person?" Many people were shocked. Although they didn't know Lin Feng's true identity, they had heard a lot about Lin Feng. Therefore, when they found out that the person who made the bid was Lin Feng, who had a conflict with the Shui clan, Sun clan, and the others, many people felt relieved. Such a person, being able to take out 10 billion immortal stones, was naturally not too surprising. It was obvious. Everyone knew that this young master of the human race was determined to get the dustless clean water. Otherwise, he wouldn't have bid such a high price. I originally estimated that the highest price of the dustless clean water would be around 4 to 5 billion, but I didn't expect this young master to raise the price to 10 billion. In this case, I think the other factions will be scared away. The price of the dustless clean water should be fixed at 10 billion. At this time, a cultivator said, "I think that's about the price." Another cultivator said, "There was no dispute about this price. This young master has bid 10 billion. Is there anyone who wants to go higher?" The beautiful woman asked excitedly. With such a high price, her commission was also high. Naturally, she was overjoyed. This kind of joy, it was completely displayed on her face. The crowd was filled with people complaining. However, no one continued to bid. Even the factions who had been eyeing the dustless clean water covetously did not continue to bid, although they also had the financial resources to compete with Lin Feng. However, it was clear that if they were to fight for it, when the time comes, the price was definitely far more than 1 million. This was far beyond their budget. Once the cost of pure clean water was too high. As for their other targets, they might not be able to capture them. Although pure clean water was rare, it was not a necessity. Therefore, those powers. In the end, he gave up. 10 billion going once. 10 billion going twice. 10 billion going thrice. Deal. After the beautiful woman's voice faded away, the dustless clean water was won by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's lips curled into a smile. Pure, clean water, snow dragon grass, and crescent moon grass. The three heavenly treasures that could cure Lung Zixi poison. Lin Feng had already collected the first type. On the other hand, Lin Feng already had news of the snow dragon grass. He wondered if the Shui clan had already brought the snow dragon grass from the ancestral land. Should he go to the Shui clan and ask? Lin Feng was no longer interested in the rest of the auction. He directly left the auction. Someone brought Lin Feng to the VIP lounge. Not long after, the head of the auction house came to the VIP box. This person was a quasi-true immortal ranker, and his strength was not ordinary. Furthermore, he was a cultivator from the Shui clan. Young master, this is the pure clean water. Please check it carefully. If there are no problems, we can proceed with the transaction. The head of the auction house said. Lin Feng nodded. He opened the porcelain bottle and checked it. There was no problem with the pure clean water. Generally speaking, there were basically no problems with the items that were auctioned off at the various auction houses. If they dared to play tricks behind the scenes, the reputation of the auction house was completely ruined. Even the reputation of the family behind them and the power behind them was completely ruined. These great powers valued their reputation extremely, so they naturally wouldn't do such a thing as lifting a rock and smashing it on their own feet. No problem. Lin Feng said. With a wave of his hand, a ball of energy flew out. Within that ball of energy, there were many rivers of immortal stones sealed. There were a total of 100 rivers of immortal stones. Each river of immortal stones was formed by 100 million immortal stones. The 100 rivers of immortal stones added together were 10 billion immortal stones. The head of the auction house kept the immortal stones. Lin Feng kept the pure clean water. Then Lin Feng left the auction house. Lin Feng didn't return to his residence directly. Instead, he headed in the direction of the Shui clan's residence. Not long after, Lin Feng arrived at the Shui clan's residence. The Shui clan's residence was naturally heavily guarded. Lin Feng was stopped outside. I'm looking for the Shui clan's ancestor. Lin Feng said, F***CK. Who the F***CK are you? Do you know where this place is? A guard said coldly. The guard commander recognized Lin Feng's identity and was instantly shocked. The guard commander kicked the guard, causing him to fall to the ground. F***CK. You don't even recognize Lin Gongzi? Do you believe that I won't gouge your eyes out? The guard commander cursed loudly. This guard commander had seen Lin Feng when he was fighting with the group of geniuses earlier. However, he was hiding in the crowd. He didn't dare to come out. Now that he saw Lin Feng, this killing god, he naturally didn't dare to be careless. The guard was so scared that his entire body trembled. His face was pale as he kowtowed to Lin Feng to apologize. Spare him. Lin Feng said, Yes, yes, yes. Please follow me, young master. The guard commander hurriedly said. He led the way in front. The other guard ran in to deliver the letter in advance. The guard commander brought Lin Feng to a drawing room where a servant girl served tea. Lin Feng waited quietly. Not long after, the patriarch of the Shui clan arrived at the drawing room. When he saw Lin Feng, he smiled. The old ancestor of the Shui family smiled and said, I'm sorry for making you wait. Lin Feng replied, There's no need to be so courteous. Both the host and the guest were seated. Lin Feng went straight to the point. It's like this. Have the cultivators who went to the ancestral grounds returned? The patriarch replied, They haven't returned yet. However, from the information we received, they should be back in a few days. So, young master, please wait patiently for a few more days. Lin Feng nodded and said, "All right, when they come back, please inform me as soon as possible." "No problem." The patriarch nodded. "Then I'll take my leave." Lin Feng stood up. "I'll send you off, young master," said the ancestor of the Shui clan, sending Lin Feng off. He looked at Lin Feng's departing figure and revealed a sinister expression. "Kid, I'll let you live freely for a few more days. Soon, you'll become a pitiful prisoner." Chapter 51-53. Lin Feng returned to his residence. The demon lord said, "Looks like we'll have to be more careful in the next few days." "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. There were many things that he could see clearly, but Lin Feng didn't say much. He just didn't want to talk about it. The next few days were very important for Lin Feng. Lin Feng wanted to come up with some countermeasures to deal with all kinds of dangers. 7 days later, someone from the Shui clan informed Lin Feng that the cultivators from the Shui clan, who were heading to the ancestral land, had arrived in Tianshui City. Furthermore, they brought the snow dragon grass that Lin Feng needed. Now, Lin Feng could head to the Shui clan. After receiving the news, Lin Feng didn't stay any longer and headed straight to the Shui clan. When Lin Feng arrived at the Shui clan, he felt a special atmosphere. This atmosphere was completely different from the last time he came to the Shui clan. This time, the atmosphere was different. It seemed to carry a kind of austere aura. Perhaps something was about to happen. Lin Feng remained expressionless. The guard commander still brought Lin Feng to the hall from before. Lin Feng waited in the hall for a while before the Shui clan's ancestor arrived. Together with the Shui clan ancestor was a middle-aged cultivator. This middle-aged cultivator had a medium build and a square face. He looked righteous, but Lin Feng could feel a cold intent from him. Golden Immortal. This middle-aged man was actually a Golden Immortal expert. It seemed like he was a Golden Immortal expert from the Shui clan. However, the Shui clan's ancestor didn't introduce this middle-aged man to Lin Feng. He smiled and said, "I'm really sorry for making you wait." Lin Feng said, "Dao friend, please don't be so polite. Did you bring the snow dragon grass?" The Shui clan's ancestor said, "The snow dragon grass has been brought and is currently in the treasury. However, it's placed in a special treasure. Only by opening the treasure's restrictions can the snow dragon grass be taken out. How about this? You can stay in the Shui clan for a while. Once the restrictions are opened, we'll immediately take out the snow dragon grass and give it to you." After hearing the Shui clan's ancestor's words, Lin Feng sneered in his heart. At the beginning, Lin Feng did believe that the snow dragon grass was in the Shui clan's ancestral land. However, after thinking about it carefully, he felt that there was something fishy about this matter. He felt that the Shui clan's ancestor was stalling for time and wanted him to stay in Tianshui City. Lin Feng was only guessing before, but now that he saw the Golden Immortal expert beside the Shui clan's ancestor, he was sure that the Shui clan's ancestor was just stalling for time. In fact, the snow dragon grass was placed in the Shui clan's treasury and not in their ancestral land. What puzzled Lin Feng was that since the Shui clan's Golden Immortal expert had already arrived, why hadn't the Shui clan's people made a move yet? Lin Feng couldn't understand why the Shui clan's ancestor was stalling for time. However, since the Shui clan's ancestor was doing this, he must have his own reasons. Lin Feng didn't plan on wasting time here. He had already thought of a way to deal with the Shui clan's Golden Immortal expert. If they were to fight head-on, even 10 of Lin Feng wouldn't be a match for a Golden Immortal expert. However, Lin Feng had many 9 heaven godly source pearls. These pearls could play a crucial role. Of course, Lin Feng didn't show his inner emotions on his face. These old foxes were good at hiding their true thoughts. Lin Feng had been in the world for many years and had experienced countless schemes. He was no longer the same as before. Lin Feng also knew how to hide his emotions and thoughts. Lin Feng said, "No problem, I'll stay here then." "All right, I'll send someone to arrange young master's residence." The Shui clan's ancestor smiled. In his heart, he actually looked down on Lin Feng. Although Lin Feng's cultivation was very strong, and he was also a sinner's blood emperor, he was still an emperor. The old ancestor of the Shui clan was naturally pleased with himself. He looked at the golden immortal expert. Although the old ancestor of the Shui clan was much older than the golden immortal expert, his strength and status in the clan were far inferior to the golden immortal expert. The golden immortal expert's lips curled into a smile, as though he was using this method to praise the Shui clan's ancestor. Lin Feng stood up and said, "There's no need to find someone else to bring me to my residence. Why don't I let Dao Friend's follower bring me there?" Hearing how Lin Feng addressed the golden immortal expert, the Shui clan's ancestor's mouth couldn't help but twitch violently. He couldn't help but cough dryly. He didn't dare to order this golden immortal expert. The world of cultivators was a world where the strong were respected, not a world where age was respected. Only the strong ordered the weak to do things, and not the old ordered the young to do things. However, at this moment, the middle-aged man said, "All right, I'll bring Lin Gongzi to rest." "All right," the Shui clan's ancestor said. "Lin Gongzi, this way please." The middle-aged man said. "Thank you for leading the way," Lin Feng said with a meaningful smile. "Lin Gongzi, you're welcome." The middle-aged man said with a smile, "What's your name?" Lin Feng asked on the way. "Shui Ziwen." The middle-aged man said, "That's a rather elegant name. It matches your temperament." Lin Feng said, "You flatter me, sir. I'm just a boor. I don't deserve such praise." The middle-aged man said, "Of course. I feel that you're not an ordinary person. Could you be a direct descendant of the Shui clan's ancestor?" Lin Feng asked. The middle-aged man shook his head. "Of course not. Our bloodline with the ancestor is already quite thin." The Shui clan's ancestor seems to be a cultivator from a side branch, right? Could it be that you're a direct descendant? Lin Feng continued asking. The middle-aged man said with a faint smile, "Cultivators from the side branches live in Tianshui City, while those from the direct bloodline live in the ancestral land. I'm currently living in Tianshui City. So, do you think I'm a side branch or a direct descendant?" Lin Feng said, "So there's such a thing. I wasn't clear about it before." The big clans have always been clear about this. The middle-aged man said. Lin Feng nodded and sighed. Yes, the big clans are indeed more meticulous in many aspects. Just like that, Lin Feng kept chatting with the middle-aged man along the way. His main goal was to lower the middle-aged man's vigilance through conversation. After all, it was extremely difficult to deal with a golden immortal. Therefore, Lin Feng had to be fully prepared and try his best to make every detail perfect. Chapter 51-54. Not long after, the middle-aged man brought Lin Feng to Lin Feng's residence. It was surrounded by lush green lawns. There were also ponds, rockery, stone bridges, and other things scattered around. The environment of this place was really quite good. This was Lin Feng's residence. Go in and see if you're satisfied. If you're not satisfied, I'll take you to other places to take a look. The middle-aged man said. Lin Feng nodded. He then entered the courtyard. There was also a hot spring pool in the courtyard. The hot spring in the pool was bubbling. There was a layer of mist lingering above the hot spring. It was like immortal mist, beautiful and magnificent. There were also some strange flowers and herbs planted in the courtyard. and the entire courtyard emitted a strange fragrance. It smelled. It was very comfortable. His mind seemed to have become much clearer. The fragrance here can actually refresh one's mind. Lin Feng said in surprise. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "There's a kind of spirit grass called the spirit-gathering grass. It can refresh one's mind and is also good for cultivation." Lin Feng sighed in admiration. "No wonder they're from a big clan. I've never seen or heard of such things." Lin Feng looked like Granny Lu had walked into a big manor. He looked very ignorant. Country bumpkin. The middle-aged man couldn't help but despise Lin Feng in his heart. Although Lin Feng's identity was extraordinary and his strength was not ordinary. However, in the middle-aged man's opinion, Lin Feng was just a cultivator from the secular world. Such a cultivator naturally didn't have much experience, and Lin Feng's performance was basically as he had guessed. So, the middle-aged man was full of contempt for Lin Feng. Although he despised Lin Feng in his heart, he did not show it on his face. He smiled and said, "Actually, these are all ordinary things. Young master's cultivation is powerful, so whatever you want, it's easy to get." Lin Feng said, "Let's forget about it. Luxuries can easily make people indulge in enjoyment. If that's the case, the heart of cultivation will be mixed with other things. Perhaps I won't be able to fully focus on cultivation anymore." The middle-aged man said, "Sir, you're quite insightful. No wonder your cultivation is so powerful at such a young age. There aren't many people with such insight, especially at your age. You should be enjoying life, but you've chosen to cultivate like an ascetic monk." Lin Feng replied, "It's far from the path of an ascetic monk. When it's time to relax, I'll relax as well." The middle-aged man asked, "Young master, how do you relax?" Lin Feng replied, "Women." "Ha ha ha ha." The middle-aged cultivator laughed and said, "This is indeed a good way to relax. Which man doesn't love beautiful women? When I was young, I liked beautiful women. Even though I'm no longer young, whenever I see a beautiful woman, I always want to take her for myself." When he heard the middle-aged cultivator's words, Lin Feng immediately cursed him in his heart. He hadn't expected that he would be able to trick this guy into revealing his dirty thoughts. This guy was indeed a sanctimonious person. Lin Feng said, "Why don't we arrange something for tonight?" The middle-aged cultivator looked down on Lin Feng in his heart. However, he still smiled and said, "Of course, that's not a problem. May I know what kind of women you like?" "I like all kinds of women. Sir, you know what I mean, right?" Lin Feng said. The middle-aged cultivator was speechless. In truth, the Shui clan had nurtured many beautiful female cultivators who could win people's hearts. Most large clans would nurture such beautiful female cultivators. However, Lin Feng had actually brought up a request like all kinds of women. He was really greedy. However, the middle-aged cultivator still nodded and said, "I guarantee that you'll be satisfied." Lin Feng said, "Thank you, brother. Ha ha ha, you're really a good person. Now, bring me inside to have a look." The middle-aged cultivator nodded and led the way into the room. Lin Feng followed behind him. The middle-aged cultivator was still looking down on Lin Feng. At the same time, he was also wondering if this guy was really the Sinner's Blood Emperor, Lin Feng. He didn't look like someone who could accomplish great things. It could be said that the middle-aged cultivator was currently at his lowest state of vigilance. Lin Feng's lips curled into a sneer as he took out 300 heavenly lightning source pearls. The moment he took out the heavenly lightning source pearls, Lin Feng immediately retreated. When the middle-aged cultivator sensed the heavenly lightning source pearls that Lin Feng had taken out, he was stunned for a moment. Then his expression suddenly changed. He had already regained his senses. It turned out that Lin Feng had been talking to him for so long. He had actually been trying to distract him. Moreover, he had actually been tricked by Lin Feng. This caused the middle-aged cultivator to be incomparably furious. A powerful figure like him had actually been tricked by Lin Feng. It was simply too infuriating. Of course, the middle-aged cultivator was powerful enough. After all, he was a golden, immortal realm expert. To himself, naturally, he was incomparably confident. So, even if he had been tricked by Lin Feng, he was still confident that he could neutralize Lin Feng's attack. The middle-aged cultivator hurriedly took out a huge light shield. The defensive power of that defensive light shield was extremely tyrannical. That defensive light shield completely enveloped the middle-aged cultivator. Boom. Then, at this moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. The 300 heavenly lightning source pearls that Lin Feng had taken out all exploded. The explosion of the 300 heavenly lightning source pearls produced a destructive force. The entire courtyard was instantly destroyed, and the middle-aged cultivator was completely submerged by the destructive force produced by the explosion of the 300 heavenly lightning source pearls. Lin Feng stood in the air, looking down at the completely destroyed courtyard. I wonder if the 300 heavenly lightning source pearls would be able to kill this golden immortal realm expert. In Lin Feng's heart, actually, he wasn't sure. What happened? The Shui clan members in the distance were also alarmed. Just now, the earth shook. They wanted to not be alarmed. It was impossible. The Shui clan members quickly rushed towards the direction of the explosion. An angry and painful roar came from the center of the explosion. Then, the middle-aged cultivator rushed out from inside. His left arm and right leg had been blown away. Half of his body had been blown apart. Some intestines. They were even flowing out. But even so, he still didn't die. A golden, immortal realm expert wouldn't die so easily. Heavens, how could this be? When the Shui clan cultivators who were rushing oversaw that the Shui clan's golden immortal realm expert was actually injured so heavily, their expressions changed greatly. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Little bastard, I'll take your dog life." The Shui clan's golden immortal realm expert roared in anger, sending a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Chapter 51-55. The Attack of a Golden Immortal. Naturally, it was extremely terrifying. Even though the golden immortal who attacked was already severely injured, no one dared to underestimate this golden immortal. If they dared to underestimate this golden immortal, they would be courting death. Now, this golden immortal had displayed an extremely heaven-defying combat strength. The power of that palm strike was extremely terrifying. Even Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. This guy was so severely injured. How could his attack still be so powerful? Fortunately, Lin Feng had been very cautious from the beginning to the end, so he had enough time to deal with the attack of the Shui clan golden immortal. Lin Feng had taken out the ruler's armor. Naturally, he had to be careful when fighting against a golden immortal. Therefore, Lin Feng took out this defensive magic treasure to protect himself. In this way, the ruler's armor could reduce about 60% of the opponent's attack power. Lin Feng could use some of his powerful techniques to neutralize the remaining attack power. After Lin Feng took out the ruler's armor, he connected with the magic lotus, the ruler's armor, his external avatar, the sage bone, and the golden dwarf. Suddenly, Lin Feng's strength began to soar rapidly. As his strength soared, so did his combat strength. It didn't take long for Lin Feng to feel that his every move seemed to have the power to turn the world upside down. Such a terrifying combat strength was naturally extremely shocking. Lin Feng directly condensed the shadow of the door of everlasting life, and suppressed it towards the Shui clan golden immortal. Bang! Following the violent collision, the shadow of the door of everlasting life that Lin Feng condensed collided with the palm strike of the Shui clan golden immortal. After the tyrannical collision, all the Shui clan members who were rushing over couldn't help but be shocked and moved. Therefore, they saw that Lin Feng was actually evenly matched with their Shui clan golden immortal. The Shui clan cultivators naturally didn't think that their golden immortal was injured by Lin Feng. They didn't believe that Lin Feng had such combat strength. They felt that Lin Feng must have used some despicable method to sneak attack their golden immortal. When their golden immortal attacked, wouldn't it be easy to kill Lin Feng? However, the reality wasn't like that. The Shui clan golden immortal couldn't do anything to Lin Feng. Although the Shui clan golden immortal's combat strength had greatly decreased due to his injuries, it shouldn't be something that a young cultivator could contend against. However, Lin Feng blocked the attack of the Shui clan golden immortal. After thinking about Lin Feng's combat strength, many people couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Lin Feng was so terrifying at such a young age. How terrifying would he be in the future? Now that they had offended Lin Feng, many people felt a chill down their backs. If they couldn't kill Lin Feng, they would definitely bring disaster to their clan in the future. No one doubted this at all. Now, they couldn't help but panic in their hearts. "You're no longer capable. Your time has passed," said Lin Feng indifferently. After blocking the attack of the Shui clan's golden celestial cultivator, he quickly moved towards him. Lin Feng arrived next to the Shui clan's golden celestial cultivator and released 6 times the strength of his draconic elephant arm. He attacked the Shui clan's golden celestial cultivator. "Brat, it's too early to talk big. Today, I'll let you know how powerful this seed is." The golden celestial cultivator of the Shui clan looked at Lin Feng indifferently. He was a golden celestial cultivator. His physical body was indestructible. How could he be afraid of fighting against Lin Feng? Therefore, when facing Lin Feng's physical attack, the Shui clan's golden celestial wasn't afraid at all. He threw a punch which tore through the air. The strength of a golden celestial's punch was incredible. Golden celestial's physical strength was naturally different from ordinary cultivators. Bang! 2 stars collided violently. Lin Feng and the golden celestial cultivator of the Shui clan collided. Their physical bodies collided. Lin Feng and the Shui clan's golden celestial cultivator collided. Lin Feng didn't move at all, but the Shui clan golden immortal was like a kite with a broken string. His arm was broken. The broken bone pierced through his skin. This is impossible. Seeing this scene, the Shui clan cultivators couldn't believe their eyes. A golden immortal's physical body could break through the void. How strong was his physical body? Physical body. It could be said to be one of the trump cards of a golden immortal. Compared to other cultivators, a golden immortal's physical body had a huge advantage. Besides being a golden immortal, the bloodline of the Shui clan golden immortal also flowed in their veins. Therefore, their physical body was naturally strong. Under the support of these 2 factors, the strength of the Shui clan golden immortal's physical body was imaginable. But even so, when the Shui clan golden immortal clashed with Lin Feng's physical body, he was actually defeated. This was what the Shui clan cultivators couldn't accept. Lin Feng was indeed strong, but as a human, Lin Feng's biggest weakness was his physical body. However, the situation wasn't like that. Lin Feng's physical body wasn't his weakness. On the contrary, Lin Feng's physical body was extremely strong. It was so strong that it made the Shui clan cultivators pale in shock. His Fa Li was strong, his sacred art was powerful, and his physical body was terrifying. In the eyes of many, Lin Feng didn't have any weaknesses. This is impossible. How can a human's physical body be so strong? The golden immortal from the Shui clan also let out a roar of disbelief. He couldn't accept this. No matter what happens to a human cultivator, it's not surprising, because humans are a race that can create miracles. Lin Feng looked at the golden, celestial immortal of the Shui clan indifferently. He quickly moved towards the golden, celestial immortal of the Shui clan. He wanted to kill him as soon as possible. The Shui clan golden immortal's face turned extremely ugly. He knew that he had lost the upper hand. Therefore, he turned around and fled. You can't escape. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He quickly gave chase and punched towards the Shui clan golden immortal. The Shui clan golden immortal hurriedly blocked Lin Feng's attack, but he was still sent flying by Lin Feng's punch. His injuries worsened. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He leaped out and turned into a ray of sword chi. Lin Feng used the sacred art, man from the outer heavens. One sword can kill immortals. A puchi sound was heard. Fresh blood spurted out. Lin Feng turned into sword chi and cut off the head of the Shui clan's golden celestial cultivator. Chapter 51-56. The golden immortal lost. How is that possible? The golden immortal is an invincible existence. How could he lose? And he was defeated by a young cultivator. But the golden immortal was defeated, and it was a terrible defeat. What should we do next? He won't start a massacre on our Shui clan, right? Let's run away now. The cultivators of the Shui clan started discussing. Everyone had a terrified expression on their faces. Their clan's golden immortal had been beheaded by Lin Feng. That was a huge shock to them. Even the Tao immortal ancestor of the Shui clan, who had received Lin Feng before, paled. Go, go, go. The Tao immortal old ancestor was scared out of his wits by Lin Feng and didn't dare to stay any longer. He was worried that he would die miserably if he stayed any longer, so he turned and ran outside. Seeing the Tao immortal old ancestor running away, the rest of the cultivators didn't dare to stay any longer. The rest of the cultivators also ran away. Lin Feng didn't care about the cultivators who were running away. They were just small fries. He smashed the golden immortal old ancestor's body into pieces, leaving only a ball of source energy in the void. Lin Feng kept it. This was the golden immortal source energy. If he refined it, he should be able to reach the earth immortal realm. Right? Thinking about that, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel excited. If he could break through to the earth immortal layer, that would be amazing. Even though there was only one level between the human immortal layer and the earth immortal layer, the difference between the two levels was huge, just like the difference between the Tao immortal layer and the golden immortal layer. Tao immortals were like ants in front of golden immortals. They weren't even on the same level. This was a huge gap. Human immortals were the same in front of Tao immortals. After all, the number of cultivators who could challenge those of a higher realm was very small. After collecting the golden immortal source energy, Lin Feng grabbed the golden immortal's head. Don't kill me! Don't kill me! The head began to beg for mercy. Just now, when Lin Feng had beheaded him, he had deliberately held back his strength. Therefore, his soul hadn't been destroyed. Where is the snow dragon grass? Lin Feng asked indifferently. If you don't kill me, I'll tell you where the snow dragon grass is. The golden immortal from the Shui clan bargained. Lin Feng sneered and said, Do you think you are qualified to negotiate with me now? You must be daydreaming. After saying that, Lin Feng directly captured the soul that was hiding in the skull. Lin Feng then threw the head to the ground. He summoned the heavenly flame. The heavenly fire burned fiercely. As the heavenly fire burned, the golden immortal's soul let out an incomparably shrill scream. The heavenly fire was extremely harmful to the soul. However, As long as he controlled it well, the other party's soul wouldn't be destroyed. There would only be unbearable pain. It was as if he was being burned by the flames of hell. Living was worse than death. Very few people could withstand such pain. "Kill me! Hurry up and kill me!" The golden immortal begged loudly. He couldn't bear it. Living, it was more painful than death. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Where is it?" "In the treasury. The treasury is in the depths of the courtyard." The golden immortal's soul hurriedly said. Lin Feng didn't stop. He directly soared into the sky. Soon, he arrived at the deepest part of the courtyard. Originally, this place was heavily guarded, but now there was no one. The people here, they had all run away. The treasury's gate was built magnificently. There was a picture of a giant dragon on it. That giant dragon was lifelike. It was as if it could fly out of the gate at any time and then become a real dragon. Around the gate, there was a terrifying killing intent that couldn't be concealed. This place was densely covered with restrictions. Once a restriction was triggered, one would be attacked by the restriction. "How do I open the gate?" Lin Feng said. The eyes of the golden immortal's soul turned. He was about to speak. Lin Feng sneered and said, "No one here is a fool. Whether you want to tell the truth or not, you should think carefully. I don't need to say more." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the golden immortal's soul knew that Lin Feng had seen through his trick. He didn't dare to lie anymore and told the truth. "The left gate, the left dragon eye is the first switch, the dragon's reverse scale is the second switch, and the dragon claw below is the third switch. These 3 switches need to be touched at the same time to open the gate. The first switch needs to be twisted half a turn to the left, the second switch needs to be twisted to the right, and the third switch needs to be gently kicked. That's all." After hearing the golden immortal's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. It was actually so troublesome to set up the switches. If someone who didn't know tried to open the gate, they would definitely be attacked by the restriction. Lin Feng couldn't verify whether this guy was telling the truth or not, so Lin Feng didn't do it himself. He took out a humanoid puppet that he had refined before and let it try. The humanoid puppet went to the gate and tried according to the golden immortal's words. A loud rumbling sound resounded through heaven and earth, and the gate moved to the side. After the gate opened, Lin Feng entered the secret room. The secret room had its own space. The space inside was very big, and there were countless treasures piled up. These treasures were the treasures that the Shui clan of Tianshui City had accumulated over countless years. In addition to the treasures that the Shui clan of Tianshui City had accumulated, there were also some treasures taken out from the ancestral land that the Shui clan of Tianshui City had helped to auction and sell. Therefore, there were too many treasures here. Lin Feng summoned over 100 humanoid puppets. He let these puppets store these treasures in time and space. The puppets began to get busy, and a large number of treasures were stored in time and space. Lin Feng looked at the golden immortal's soul and asked, "Where is the snow dragon grass?" On a metal shelf in the depths, there is a white jade box emitting a terrifying cold chi. It contains the snow dragon grass. The golden immortal's soul said. Lin Feng nodded and quickly flew towards the depths. He saw that there were many metal shelves in the depths, but Lin Feng still found the white jade box at a glance because it was emitting a terrifying cold chi. Lin Feng flew over and opened the white jade box. Sure enough, there was a snow-white immortal grass inside. This was the snow dragon grass. Lin Feng put the white jade box away. The puppets were very fast. As soon as Lin Feng put the white jade box away, the puppets also took the treasures around Lin Feng into time and space. After that, the treasures in the treasury were quickly emptied. Lin Feng didn't stop. After putting the puppets away, he quickly flew outside. "You're finally out," When Lin Feng came out of the treasury, he heard a voice. Lin Feng looked over and saw a handsome cultivator. When he saw this person, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. Di Wudao. It was actually Di Wudao. Lin Feng had seen a portrait of Di Wudao before, so he recognized him at a glance. Chapter 51-57. Di Wudao's strength didn't need to be mentioned. He was a super genius who could challenge people several realms higher than him. Lin Feng had heard some rumors about Di Wudao. For example, Di Wudao wasn't the son of the Celestial Emperor. He was actually the son of the Celestial Emperor and Di Wudao's mother. If that was the case, then Di Wudao's talent was much more terrifying than one could imagine. The Celestial Emperor couldn't be compared to the Celestial Emperor of the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor was only the ruler of the undying world in a half-higher plane, while the Celestial Emperor was the ruler of a higher plane. The difference between the two couldn't be calculated. Of course, no one knew if these rumors were true. But no matter whether the news was true or not, one thing was for sure. Since he had become a true celestial being, Di Wudao's cultivation level had reached an unfathomable level. Nobody knew how strong he was. Lin Feng didn't know either, but he had the impression that Di Wudao couldn't compete with him. When he faced Di Wudao, Lin Feng sensed an oppressive pressure he had never sensed before. It was even more oppressive than when he was facing a golden celestial cultivator. Di Wudao was really strong. When did you arrive? Lin Feng took a deep breath and asked. When you opened the door and didn't enter, I was already here. Di Wudao said casually. Di Wudao looked like he had everything under his control. The current Di Wudao was truly terrifying. He had everything under his control. Everything was beneath his eyes. Maybe only someone with such a personality would be able to become a supreme expert, right? Why didn't you stop me from entering? Lin Feng asked curiously. Di Wudao smiled and said, Don't you think that making someone fall from heaven to hell is something to be happy about? When Lin Feng heard Di Wudao, he pulled a long face. He knew that Di Wudao was talking about the treasures he had obtained in the treasury. When he had entered the treasury, he had been extremely happy. It had been like going to heaven, hadn't it? But when he came out and met Di Wudao, wasn't it like falling into hell? Lin Feng said, You're too arrogant. Di Wudao said indifferently. Arrogant? I don't think so. I'm from the same era as your father. Although you've grown fast, how could you know my methods? Hee, you think you're from the same era as my father? Don't forget that back then, you were just a dog by my father's side. Unfortunately, my father didn't see your true face. Otherwise, everything wouldn't have happened. Lin Feng said mockingly, Ha, you don't even know what happened back then, yet you're spouting nonsense here. How laughable. Di Wudao sneered. What happened? Lin Feng asked. Di Wudao's expression was indifferent. In the beginning, I truly followed your father wholeheartedly. However, as time passed, my heart changed. Do you know why I changed? It's all because of your father. Why is it that both of us have outstanding talent, but your father has so many great opportunities and even awakened his own fate bloodline? Why is it that so many good things happen to your father, and I can only watch as they happen to me? I can't accept it, so I want to destroy him. Lin Feng sneered. Back then, my father had so many followers. Why didn't they act like you? To put it bluntly, you're just a selfish person. You're just trying to hide your despicable and shameless nature. Besides, didn't my father help you back then? I've heard Uncle Duguya talk about some of the things that happened in the past. You've all received the blessings of fate by my father's side. You've all received great benefits, and my father has never forgotten about you. My father even changed your destinies for you. He did everything he could, but How did you repay him? You're evil and despicable, so don't try to find excuses. I thought you were a despicable person, but now it seems that calling you a despicable person is an insult to the word despicable. You're a despicable person who doesn't know how to be grateful. You don't deserve to be called a human, said Di Wudao, smiling coldly. Do you think you can change the fate of your father, your mother, and your father's followers? What's done can't be undone. Back then, I killed your uncle, and in the future, I'll kill your father. But don't worry, I won't kill you now. I can't bear to kill you. I'll capture you and use you to force your father to show himself. I want him to kneel in front of me and beg me to spare your life. I think that scene will be very exciting. At this point, Di Wudao's face revealed a hint of madness. You're a psychopath, said Lin Feng gloomily. Hee, whatever you say. All I know is that I'm the winner, said Di Wudao, smiling. Then he walked towards Lin Feng step by step. I've heard a lot about you. I heard that your cultivation level has increased very quickly. I'm very curious. How's your cultivation level now? Let me see how strong you are. As soon as he finished speaking, Di Wudao gently pressed down across the void. In an instant, a gigantic energy hand appeared above Di Wudao. That gigantic energy hand seemed to have the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. It moved directly towards Lin Feng. When Lin Feng sensed that gigantic energy hand, his face turned pale with fright. Terrifying, too terrifying. Di Wudao's casual attack. How could it be so terrifying? How terrifying! How terrifying! Lin Feng had heard that Di Wudao had been able to break through to the true immortal realm for a long time, but he hadn't been able to break through to the true immortal realm. Di Wudao had been accumulating more and more energy. As he accumulated more and more energy, breaking through to the true immortal realm became more and more difficult. But if he succeeded, his fighting strength would increase by an unimaginable amount. Now that Di Wudao had broken through, his fighting strength had reached a level that made people despair. Chapter 51-58. However, Lin Feng was no longer the same person as before. Therefore, in the face of Di Wudao's attack, Lin Feng was not completely defenseless. Lin Feng channeled his dermic powers. He immediately unleashed the powerful divine ability, Aeon Nullification. This was the supreme technique of the human tribe of the last era. Now that Lin Feng had unleashed it, it immediately displayed an extremely powerful force. An ancient world appeared in front of Lin Feng. It was as if the ancient space-time had been integrated into this ancient world. Under Lin Feng's control, Aeon Nullification directly met Di Wudao's divine ability head-on. Bang! Accompanied by a violent collision sound, the divine abilities of both sides collided violently. Then, something terrifying happened. Di Wudao's condensed energy palm directly broke Lin Feng's divine ability. Di Wudao, he did not use any divine ability at all. He merely condensed an energy palm. It was a very casual attack, but it was so powerful. This was completely out of Lin Feng's expectations. Therefore, Lin Feng could not help but reveal an expression of disbelief. In the face of Di Wudao's overbearing attack, Lin Feng's heart was extremely unsettled. After breaking Lin Feng's divine ability, Di Wudao's condensed energy palm continued to move toward Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng dodged Di Wudao's attack one step ahead. Di Wudao's attack landed in the air and then dissipated. Lin Feng could not help but feel a lingering fear. If he had been hit by Di Wudao's attack just now, it would have been quite troublesome. Lin Feng despised Di Wudao's character, but he had to admit that Di Wudao was indeed powerful. After breaking through to the true immortal realm, Di Wudao was no longer immortal. He was a true immortal. The difference between immortal and mortal allowed Di Wudao to undergo a major transformation. He was originally a monster like Lin Feng. Now that he had reached the true immortal realm, Lin Feng naturally did not find it strange that he had such combat strength. "Ha ha, you're really pitifully weak," Di Wudao said mockingly. Lin Feng replied with a cold smile, "How many years have you cultivated? How many years have I cultivated? You can't even defeat me in an instant at your level, and you have the nerve to say that I'm pitifully weak? What a joke! Are you comforting yourself? If I were at the same level as you, do you believe that I could crush you as easily as crushing an ant?" Hearing Lin Feng's mockery, Di Wudao was not angry. This guy's ability to endure was really strong. Di Wudao said, "You didn't inherit your father's modesty at all. I don't need to be exactly like my father. I am me," Lin Feng said with a cold smile. "You're a man with your own thoughts, but so what? Your fate was already sealed when you met me. Today, no one in the world can save your life." Flowing light phantom. Di Wudao sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, his body turned into a phantom. This was an extremely terrifying divine ability. Once the flowing light phantom was used, it could lock onto the target's position. Then, the cultivator who used this divine ability would appear in front of the targeted cultivator at the fastest speed possible. Then, he would launch a powerful attack on the targeted cultivator. Many people didn't even know what was going on before they were defeated by the opponent. Di Wudao's control of this divine ability had obviously reached an extremely high level. When he used this divine ability, he turned into a phantom. The phantom was so fast that it was almost impossible for people to react. If it were someone else, they might not have been able to react in time and would have been attacked by Di Wudao. However, Lin Feng was different. Lin Feng's speed was unparalleled in the world, and his reaction speed was also unbelievably fast. Therefore, when Di Wudao came to his side, Lin Feng quickly retreated and put some distance between him and Di Wudao. Di Wudao's lips curled into a cold smile. He quickly chased after Lin Feng. The power of the flowing light phantom was displayed at this moment. Since Lin Feng was locked onto by Di Wudao was able to catch up to Lin Feng immediately and attack Lin Feng with a palm. After sensing Di Wudao's terrifying attack, Lin Feng's face darkened. He activated the Supreme Reincarnation Fist and attacked Di Wudao. Lin Feng activated the thousands of divine abilities that he had cultivated, continuously increasing the power of his punch. Lin Feng's punch instantly reached the peak of its power. Bang! The two sides collided again. At that moment, Lin Feng had the feeling that an earth-shattering strength was penetrating into his body. That power instantly broke Lin Feng's divine ability, the Supreme Reincarnation Fist. It was Lin Feng's most powerful divine ability. However, it took on Di Wudao's terrifying attack. It was broken instantly. Lin Feng was in disbelief. Di Wudao was too powerful, wasn't he? That earth-shattering power crashed into Lin Feng's body and instantly sent Lin Feng flying. The sovereign's armor dissipated a large portion of the power. The remaining power was neutralized by Lin Feng's magical immunity and strong physical body. Even so, Lin Feng still felt like his insides were burning. Cough, cough. Lin Feng couldn't help but cough violently. Interesting, but you're still too weak. Take another hit from me. Di Wudao's lips curled into a disdainful smile. He struck out another palm at Lin Feng. After Di Wudao struck out with his palm, the power of heaven and earth, it quickly gathered. The energy turned into a giant energy palm. That energy palm contained the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Di Wudao, he seemed to be getting serious. That destructive giant energy palm rushed towards Lin Feng. Originally, Lin Feng wanted to use his divine ability to counter the attack of the giant energy palm. However, when the giant energy palm approached him, Lin Feng completely gave up on that idea. That was because the giant energy palm was too powerful. There was no way to counter it. Lin Feng quickly used the heaven patching technique. He borrowed another chance from the heavens. When the gigantic hand was about to crash onto Lin Feng's body, Lin Feng's expression changed. Swoosh! There was a flash of light. Lin Feng immediately disappeared without a trace. When Lin Feng appeared again, he was already 100 meters away. He was panting slightly. The expression on his face was unprecedentedly serious. Chapter 51-59. Before Di Wudao's arrival, the battle between Lin Feng and the Golden Immortal from the Shui clan had already attracted the attention of many cultivators. After Di Wudao's arrival, the area was completely surrounded. Even the Shui clan's Golden Immortal was killed by that human cultivator. But now that human cultivator is being suppressed. Who is that human cultivator fighting against that human cultivator? How is he so strong? Asked a cultivator doubtfully. The cultivator, who spoke, clearly didn't know Di Wudao. In fact, there weren't many people who knew Di Wudao. Many people shook their heads. They also wanted to know who was fighting with Lin Feng. He's the crown prince, Di Wudao, said a cultivator at that moment. What? He's the crown prince, Di Wudao? Cries of surprise rose and fell one after another. Many people were shocked to hear the news. They didn't expect that person to be Di Wudao. In the Undying Realm, there were too many rumors about Di Wudao. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happened, Di Wudao would probably leave the Undying Realm after the Heavenly Emperor broke through to the Saint Realm. At that time, Di Wudao would inherit the position of Heavenly Emperor and become the 10th Heavenly Emperor. Then, he would take control of the Heavenly Court and become the ruler of the Undying Realm. Therefore, when people learned that the person fighting was Di Wudao, they naturally couldn't calm down. Who's the young human cultivator fighting with Di Wudao? Asked someone else. There were even fewer cultivators who knew Lin Feng, but that didn't mean that everyone didn't know Lin Feng. There were still some who knew Lin Feng, but they didn't say much. They didn't reveal Lin Feng's true identity. However, not all cultivators didn't reveal Lin Feng's identity. Someone said, he's the sinner's blood emperor, Lin Feng. The sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard one after another. The sinner's blood emperor, Lin Baiqian's son. He was fighting with Di Wudao. Naturally, everyone had heard of the relationship between Di Wudao and Lin Baiqian. Back then, Di Wudao wasn't known to everyone. Among the Celestial Emperor's children, Di Wudao was the least known. Everyone knew that the Sky Emperor had such a son, but very few people knew his name or what he looked like. Furthermore, it had always been widely rumored that this son was born after the Sky Emperor was cuckolded by the Lord of the Heaven Realm. Therefore, many people felt that the Celestial Emperor did not know his son well on purpose. There are some things in this world that are very strange. For example, many people liked to believe some rumors. Many cultivators believed that Di Wudao was born because the Heaven Realm's Heaven Lord had cuckolded the Heavenly Emperor. If the Heavenly Emperor did not care about the Heavenly Master of the Heaven Realm, he would have killed his son long ago, right? Instead of killing his son, he hid everything about him. That was already the most benevolent thing he could do. Many people knew the story that followed. Di Wudao, who had been frustrated by his lack of success, decided to take Lin Baiqian as his master by chance. At that time, Lin Baiqian had no conflict with the Heavenly Court or the Heavenly Monarch. The hatred was only born later. Di Wudao only truly rose to prominence after following Lin Baiqian. However, for the sake of benefits, Di Wudao later joined the mastermind behind the scenes in that unspeakable world. Lin Beitian and the others, on the other hand, ended up in a rather tragic state. Therefore, Lin Feng and Di Wudao naturally had an irreconcilable relationship. Lin Baitian's son hasn't been in the undying realm for long, right? He has actually grown to such an extent that he can even kill a golden immortal. This is truly unbelievable. A cultivator sighed. Don't think too highly of him. If he didn't use some special methods to severely injure the Shui clan's golden immortal, how could he be a match for a golden immortal with his battle strength? Someone curled his lips and said, although the Shui clan's golden immortal's battle strength has dropped after being injured, it is still extremely terrifying. Lin Feng has only cultivated for about 360 years, and he is already so powerful. What will happen in the future? Those who dare to underestimate Lin Feng will definitely not have a good ending. Therefore, when looking at things and problems, we can't just look at the surface. We have to look at the long term. A cultivator immediately retorted. Someone said, if Lin Feng is given time, he will definitely become an incomparably terrifying existence. However, what Lin Feng lacks right now is time. Since Di Wudao has already appeared, he will definitely not give Lin Feng another chance. Yeah, Lin Feng is definitely finished this time. Many people nodded and agreed with the words of the cultivator just now. Heaven-mending art. This sacred art is quite interesting. As expected of Lin Baitian's son, you have quite a few tricks up your sleeve. However, it doesn't matter how many tricks you have. Now, it's time to end this. Di Wudao looked indifferently at Lin Feng. All-directional nirvana, Di Wudao said. His hands formed a seal. Clearly, Di Wudao was about to use a sacred art. Di Wudao didn't use a sacred art at all when he attacked just now. Even the energy palm attack was formed casually. It couldn't be considered a sacred art. Even so, it was still very powerful. Now that Di Wudao had used a sacred art, its power had reached an unfathomable level. Lin Feng felt that things were getting troublesome after Di Wudao's sacred art was formed. The sacred art's aura was too terrifying. It was an aura that made one's soul tremble. There was no way to fight against it. Lin Feng wanted to teleport away, but he found that the space around him had been sealed. He couldn't do that. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. Then he took out the remaining 909 heavenly lightning source pearls. Then the 9 heavenly lightning source pearls were ignited. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, all 909 heavenly lightning source pearls exploded, instantly destroying Di Wudao's sacred art. Then the destructive power engulfed Di Wudao. Such terrifying energy directly shattered the void. What is that? How can the explosion be so terrifying? Even a golden immortal would be killed by it, right? Back then was the explosion of the gold immortal from the Shui family, the one that injured him. Can Di Wudao withstand the power of those pearls? Many cultivators cried out in alarm. 900 heavenly thunder essence pearls were extremely powerful. They were much more powerful than the 300 heavenly thunder essence pearls Lin Feng had used before. Therefore, when they saw the destructive energy of the 909 heavenly thunder source pearls surging towards Wudao Di, they felt uncertain. They didn't know if Wudao Di could withstand the attack of the 909 heavenly thunder source pearls. Chapter 5160, Sun and Moon Infinite Light Dome. Di Wudao was about to be engulfed by the destructive energy. However, at this moment, Di Wudao made his move. With a wave of his hand, a huge energy shield appeared in front of him. The energy shield contained a strong defensive power, as if it could block all attacks. When the majestic destructive power blasted towards him, it was all blocked by the energy shield. Lin Feng couldn't believe his eyes. The power of 909 heavenly thunder source pearls was indescribable. Lin Feng couldn't find any words to describe it. How could such a terrifying attack be blocked? Was Di Wudao really that strong? If that couldn't kill Di Wudao, what else could? At the very least, Lin Feng couldn't think of a way to kill Di Wudao. Di Wudao was an invincible existence. There was no way to kill him. Let's go. Lin Feng released Empty Space Dao. He wanted to leave, but Di Wudao smiled coldly. It's useless. I've already sealed the space around you. You can't leave. I told you, when you met me, your fate was sealed. Don't try to struggle anymore, said Di Wudao. Di Wudao blocked the 909 heavenly thunder source pearls and quickly flew towards Lin Feng. His body emitted a terrifying wave of energy. He was preparing a powerful attack to completely suppress Lin Feng. He didn't want to give Lin Feng any more chances because he was worried that Lin Feng had other tricks up his sleeve. He wanted to suppress Lin Feng once and for all. Di Wudao is getting serious. The battle is about to end, said a cultivator. Many people nodded. Many people nodded in agreement. Indeed, the battle was about to end. If Di Wudao became serious, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to resist his attacks. Even Lin Feng had a serious expression on his face. He was in trouble. Di Wudao was so strong that he didn't know what to do. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. It was a very frustrating feeling. Lin Feng was furious, but there were some things that he had to face. Di Wudao was someone from his father's generation and had been by his father's side for a long time. It would be strange if he was easy to deal with. However, Lin Feng had to think about how to deal with this dangerous situation. Lin Feng took out the epic war spear. Perhaps he had to fight Di Wudao. Hopefully, he would be able to find a way to escape during the battle. That was the only way Lin Feng could think of. Lin Feng couldn't think of anything else for now. At this critical moment, a huge vortex appeared in the sky and swallowed Di Wudao. Di Wudao hadn't expected such a vortex to appear. Even Lin Feng was stunned. That vortex wasn't created by him, so he didn't know what was going on. However, Lin Feng could sense that the vortex was strange. It was a vortex formed by an extremely strong curse power. What were cultivators most afraid of? What they were most afraid of was curses. That was because the curse was simply too bizarre. The saying that the unknown was the scariest was very true. Therefore, even someone as strong as Di Wudao couldn't help but feel a little gloomy when he sensed the curse vortex. If it were any other power, he could have easily destroyed the vortex. However, since the vortex was formed by curse power, Di Wudao had to be cautious. He quickly formed a shield of magic power to protect his body, preventing the curse power from invading his body. The curse vortex flew quickly towards Di Wudao. Di Wudao wanted to teleport away to avoid being swallowed by the vortex. However, Di Wudao couldn't do it. The curse vortex was very strange. After locking onto Di Wudao, it followed him like a shadow. There was no way for him to avoid it. Therefore, Di Wudao was swallowed by the vortex. After Di Wudao was swallowed by the vortex, a cursed door appeared in the sky. The cursed doll flew out of the cursed door. He looked at Lin Feng and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and leave." Lin Feng was excited when he saw the cursed doll. He hadn't expected the cursed doll to be in a place like this. Moreover, the cursed doll had lent him a helping hand at a critical moment. It seemed like the cursed doll wasn't bad at all. Although it could be a little tricky at times, it was still a trustworthy companion. Lin Feng quickly flew towards the cursed doll. He entered the cursed door with the cursed doll. Then, the cursed door disappeared. At that moment, the curse vortex shattered. Di Wudao rushed out of the vortex. "Damn it! Even with Di Wudao's mentality, he couldn't help but roar when he saw Lin Feng escape. He had been so close to capturing Lin Feng. He had already planned everything after capturing Lin Feng. However, it had all been for naught. It would be strange if Di Wudao was in a good mood. Lin Feng, you won't be able to escape from me next time, Di Wudao said with a dark expression. Then Di Wudao turned invisible and quickly left the place. Shua. In the forest, light flashed and Lin Feng and the cursed doll flew out from the void. Damn, you're amazing. You can't even defeat Di Wudao after exchanging so many moves with him. Even the old lady, who tried to scam others, is impressed by you. The cursed doll shouted. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Don't mention it. I'm embarrassed. Di Wudao was too careless. Otherwise, he would have captured me long ago. I knew that Di Wudao would be very strong after breaking through to the true immortal stage, but I didn't expect him to be this strong. It's unbelievable. I really don't know how he cultivates. Is his talent even greater than mine? This was what puzzled Lin Feng. In terms of talent, he felt that he was even more talented than his father, Lin Feng, let alone Di Wudao. However, Di Wudao's combat power was clearly above that of a golden immortal. This was what puzzled Lin Feng the most. Lin Feng felt that with his talent, having Di Wudao's combat power after breaking through to the true immortal stage was already quite good. Di Wudao's current combat power had truly shocked Lin Feng. Logically speaking, Di Wudao shouldn't be this strong, but the truth was that Di Wudao was indeed so strong that Lin Feng couldn't believe it. In terms of talent, Di Wudao is much weaker than you. However, there's one thing that you can't compare to him. This is also the reason why he's so strong. Oh, what's so outstanding about Di Wudao? Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll doubtfully. Chapter 5161. You must have heard about Di Wudao's mother, right? The cursed doll didn't answer Lin Feng's question directly. Instead, it asked Lin Feng a question. Lin Feng nodded. Of course, I've heard a lot about his mother, but I don't know what you're talking about. The cursed doll smirked and said, I'm talking about Di Wudao's mother and the mysterious master of the heavenly master. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Are you trying to say that Di Wudao's mother really had an affair with his master? Di Wudao isn't the son of the celestial emperor. He's actually the son of the celestial emperor. The cursed doll said, I didn't say that. Only the people involved would know. How could people like us know? That's why I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that Di Wudao's strength is related to the celestial emperor. The celestial emperor is Di Wudao's ancestor. Lin Feng nodded. Their relationship was similar to his relationship with Wang Mingchuan. Wang Mingchuan was his mother's master. So according to seniority, he should call Wang Mingchuan ancestor, said the cursed doll. As a celestial master, his means are naturally terrifying, and he has countless treasures. I heard that the celestial master once killed a saint, and that saint had cultivated a holy embryo. When Di Wudao was born, the celestial master gave him the holy embryo. The reason why Di Wudao is so strong is closely related to the holy embryo. Damn, this guy is really lucky. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh in amazement. He was a little envious of Di Wudao. Lin Feng suddenly thought of Princess Shui Yao. She also had a holy embryo. He wondered if Princess Shui Yao had already grasped the holy embryo's power. There's no need for you to be envious of him. You're already very strong. When you were Di Wudao's age, I dare say that you could easily crush him. Take your time. Time waits for no man. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. There was a sense of urgency in his heart. Now that the enemy was right in front of them, it was naturally a terrible thing for them to not be able to fully increase their strength. This time, He was able to escape successfully because of the cursed doll's help. But what about next time? You can't expect someone to help you every time, right? Therefore, Lin Feng really wanted to increase his cultivation as quickly as possible. Go, Lin Feng said. Where to? Cursed Doll asked. Go into seclusion and refine the Golden Immortal's origin, Lin Feng said. Hee hee, looks like you're going to break through again. The cursed doll grinned. Lin Feng and the cursed doll entered the depths of the mountain forest. Then, Lin Feng found a secluded place and opened up a cave. After sealing the cave with a restriction, he began to cultivate in seclusion. With the cursed doll guarding him, Lin Feng did not have to worry about being disturbed. Lin Feng took out the Golden Immortal's origin and began to refine it. The Golden Immortal's origin emitted an astonishing energy fluctuation. When he felt the aura of the Golden Immortal's origin, Lin Feng even felt the magic power in his body begin to stir. The magic power in his body seemed to want to complete a transformation. In fact, some of the top Tao Immortal's origin could also increase Lin Feng's cultivation. However, this kind of increase was limited to a small realm. If he wanted to break through to the Earth Immortal realm, it was impossible to do so just by using the Tao Immortal's origin. Breaking through to the Earth Immortal realm required the Golden Immortal's origin. As the Golden Immortal's origin was refined by Lin Feng, the magic power in Lin Feng's body, Lin Feng's origin, Lin Feng's soul, Lin Feng's body, and so on all began to transform. This kind of transformation, it allowed Lin Feng to become stronger and stronger. The fluctuations coming from Lin Feng's body also became more and more terrifying. The cursed doll glanced at Lin Feng from time to time with a shocked expression in his eyes. He could feel a terrifying power that could topple mountains and overturn seas from Lin Feng's body. Logically speaking, breaking through to the Earth Immortal realm shouldn't be so powerful, but Lin Feng was so powerful. It was really unbelievable. No matter what happened, as long as it happened to Lin Feng, it seemed to be understandable. It wasn't the first day that the cursed doll knew Lin Feng, so he could naturally understand all of this. Lin Feng's life level had reached the edge of transformation. In fact, many people would choose to break through to the half-step Earth Immortal realm to break through. However, Lin Feng didn't want to overdo it in this realm. He wanted to break through to the Earth Immortal realm directly. In time and space, the immortal mountains piled up by the high-grade immortal stones burned directly. After the high-grade immortal stones burned, they produced a large amount of energy. The energy continuously poured into Lin Feng's body. A cultivator's breakthrough wasn't something that could be achieved just because he wanted to. Being a cultivator was a profession that drank money the most. Without money, there was no need to talk about breaking through. What were immortal stones? For cultivators, immortal stones were money. The stronger one's cultivation was, the more immortal stones one needed to break through. So why was it so difficult for a top expert to appear among the rogue cultivators? It was mainly because rogue cultivators couldn't get enough cultivation resources. For example, a rogue cultivator had accumulated enough and was about to break through. He needed 100 million immortal stones to break through. If he had 100 million immortal stones, he might not be able to break through successfully. However, it could also greatly increase the success rate of this rogue cultivator. If he didn't have 100 million immortal stones, that would be terrible. If he wanted to break through, he would think about it in his next life. If it was a cultivator from a big sect, it would be different. They basically wouldn't need to worry about the cultivation resources they needed to break through. If they were talented, they would be heavily nurtured by their sect. All these years, everything about Lin Feng. He had worked hard on his own. Although Lin Feng had established many forces, to be honest, Lin Feng would often take out a lot of cultivation resources to maintain the operation of these forces. He had never drawn wealth from these forces. In essence, this was the case. Lin Feng was still a rogue cultivator. It was indeed not easy for him to be able to fight his way to where he was now. At this moment, the light of tribulation flickered between Lin Feng's eyebrows. Lin Feng was about to transcend the tribulation. The real tribulation had yet to begin. The most dangerous time was when he was transcending the tribulation. When he was transcending the tribulation, he would need more immortal stones. Of course, Lin Feng didn't lack immortal stones. Even 1,000,000,000,000 immortal stones were nothing to Lin Feng. The cursed doll flew out. After seeing the rolling lightning sea outside, he couldn't help but gasp. This was because he had seen many thunder gods in the Thunder Ocean. For example, the war god, mighty miracle god, and other gods condensed from lightning. Damn, the lightning tribulation hasn't started yet, and there are already so many gods in the lightning sea. What kind of tribulation is this guy going to transcend? Could it be the end of the gods? The cursed doll thought of a legendary tribulation, but when he thought of that tribulation, the cursed doll quickly shook his head. He didn't dare to believe that Lin Feng would transcend such a tribulation. The end of the gods. It was the tribulation when one broke through to the saint realm. Moreover, among the cultivators who broke through to the saint realm, those who transcended the end of the gods were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Any cultivator who transcended such a tribulation, basically, they died in the tribulation. Lin Feng had only broken through to the earth immortal realm. How could he transcend a tribulation like the end of the gods? However, as time passed, more and more gods condensed in the lightning sea, and the gods condensed became stronger. He increasingly felt that this tribulation was really the end of the gods in the legends. At this moment, Lin Feng walked out of the cave and quickly flew into the sky. Lin Feng was ready to transcend the tribulation. Chapter 5162. The cursed doll looked at Lin Feng with envy and jealousy because it had personally witnessed how Lin Feng had transcended the tribulation. The cursed doll was certain that the tribulation was the legendary doomsday of the gods. However, it was still resolved by Lin Feng. Many people would definitely die when facing such a tribulation. How did Lin Feng, a human immortal, successfully transcend the doomsday of the gods? Even now, the cursed doll still didn't understand why he had successfully transcended the tribulation. After breaking through to the earth immortal realm, Lin Feng seemed to have changed a little, but the cursed doll couldn't pinpoint exactly what had changed. However, the cursed doll was certain that Lin Feng was no longer the same as before. The earth immortal realm wasn't something a human immortal realm cultivator could compare to. As for strength, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. They couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Lin Feng said weakly, "Find a place. I need to recover properly." Lin Feng looked quite miserable right now. His body was covered in wounds. If it wasn't for his undying bloodline, he would have died countless times during the tribulation. Luckily, he had passed the culpa test of the gods' tribulation. Now, Lin Feng's cultivation level was at the first earth celestial layer. Lin Feng's soul was at the top of the Tao celestial layer. Lin Feng's physical body had broken through to the golden celestial immortal layer. Lin Feng's physical strength was comparable to that of a golden celestial cultivator. Lin Feng's physical strength was comparable to that of a golden celestial cultivator. Lin Feng's physical strength was comparable to that of a golden celestial cultivator. The current Lin Feng His battle strength had increased many times compared to before his breakthrough. Lin Feng and the cursed doll left together and found a secluded place. Lin Feng went into seclusion to recuperate. After about 5 days, Lin Feng's body had fully recovered. After recovering, Lin Feng's face was full of joy. The feeling of breaking through to the earth, immortal realm was too good. Of course, Lin Feng didn't feel proud because he had broken through to the earth, immortal realm. So what if he was in the earth, immortal realm? He still had a long way to go. Lin Feng felt that perhaps he would only be able to relax after breaking through to the true immortal realm. Lin Feng believed that once he broke through to the true immortal realm, killing Di Wudao wouldn't be much of a problem. Lin Feng was still confident about this. As for now, he would try his best to avoid conflict with Di Wudao. It wouldn't be too late to kill him after he broke through. Di Wudao still had the 9 stone swords. Lin Feng had always wanted to kill Di Wudao and snatch his 9 stone swords. Perhaps that day would come very soon. After coming out of seclusion, Lin Feng left with the cursed doll. On the way, Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll and asked, "What do you plan to do next?" The cursed doll replied, "I've already dealt with some matters, so I don't know what to do now. What do you plan to do?" Lin Feng replied, "There are many things I need to do. I need to find the crescent moon grass, the emperor brush, the stone sutra, and so on." Crescent moon grass. You want to find crescent moon grass. I know where to find crescent moon grass. The cursed doll replied. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The cursed doll actually knew where to find crescent moon grass. This made Lin Feng extremely happy. Lin Feng was in a hurry to find crescent moon grass to cure Lung Zixi's poison. Now that he had the dustless technique and the snow dragon grass, he only needed crescent moon grass. As long as he could find crescent moon grass, Lung Zixi would be able to wake up. Lin Feng hurriedly asked, "Where can I find crescent moon grass?" "There's a place in the outer seas called the Immortal Moon Valley. The Immortal Moon Valley has crescent moon grass there, but it's extremely dangerous. It's a famous place in the outer seas, so very few people dare to enter." The cursed doll explained. "It's fine. Let's go take a look. May I know which sea region you're talking about?" Lin Feng asked. "The Western Sea." The cursed doll replied. Lin Feng said, "Then we're not too far from the Western Sea." Lin Feng and the cursed doll headed to the Western Sea together. Lin Feng still remembered that he had agreed to go to the place where ancestor Samsara had fallen with Taoist Qingshan and the other 3 experts. The 4 experts had already gone out to sea to search for the place where ancestor Samsara had fallen. They would inform him once they found the place. However, he had yet to receive any news from them. The 4 experts had also gone to the Western Sea. He didn't know if he would be able to meet the 4 experts there. It would be even better if he could meet them. Then he could enter the place where ancestor Samsara had fallen. It was said that there was an entrance to the reincarnation passage there. Lin Feng was very worried about Feng Yaoguang's safety. Therefore, he wanted to enter the reincarnation passage to find Feng Yaoguang. However, entering the reincarnation passage was easier said than done. Entering the place where ancestor Samsara had fallen, there was one way. According to the 4 experts, the news that there was an entrance to the reincarnation passage was much more reliable than the news that there was an entrance to the heaven-devouring secret realm. 3 months later, the ancient ship Xianyuan jumped through space-time and arrived at the overseas world. In order to save time, Lin Feng had been burning immortal stones to supply the ancient ship with a steady stream of immortal stones. This way, the ancient ship could continue to jump through space-time without stopping. The amount of immortal stones consumed each day was more than 1 million. The number of immortal stones consumed in 3 months was about 100 million. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to bear such an expenditure, but For Lin Feng, this amount of immortal stones was nothing. In the overseas world, blue waves rippled as far as the eye could see. The ancient ship, Xianyuan, was flying at high speed. Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll and asked, "You came to the overseas world before this?" "Yes." The cursed doll nodded. "What's the matter?" Lin Feng asked. The cursed doll replied, "I'm not telling you." Lin Feng pursed his lips and said, "Is there a need to be so secretive?" At that moment, a violent fluctuation came from ahead. After sensing it, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. The fluctuation was too powerful. Lin Feng felt that it was definitely caused by a battle between two peerless experts. Otherwise, the fluctuation wouldn't be so terrifying.